Good morning. It's a Monday morning and it's a bit slippery here and there wherever it is that you are out this morning as the rains came down all night. But either way, we started the week and let's see what it looks like on these streets. As you're coming off of the Thika Superhighway this morning, it's starting to build up. As you get out towards Survey, we'll see bits and bobs as you get towards the city. Coming out of Western's, not too much of an issue here at all. You're free into the CBD, no problems whatsoever. So we know that it's still closed off as you're coming off Uhuru Highway. If you're coming off of Chiromo, you will be diverted towards Boulevard, and traffic is already starting to build up going towards the Globe Cinema overpass, the roundabout, then touching on Slip Road. That is already starting to do the business. If you've left early, you'll not get stuck in that traffic, but let's wait and see. Getting on to Kamkunji at the roundabout, also some traffic has started to build up. We're going to keep an eye on that and see what happens as we get into Monday. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
How are you doing? It's Monday. When did April begin? So it's already 8th of April.
Yeah.
Like that. Huh? Way. Another short week.
Yeah. Is it? Why is it short?
It's going to be interrupted on Wednesday.
Oh, it is Wednesday. Yes, it is.
Like that, imagine.
Like that.
Yeah. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning to me. How are you? How was your weekend?
It was all right.
Yeah. What did you not do?
What did I not do? I'm trying to think of what I did not do. Very little. My daughter turned 14.
La. Bas.
So that was fun to celebrate her. Yeah.
Somebody stole the mouse pad.
Waliweka hapa na ni yako.
Walileta pandio?
Don't know why.
Allah. So it was a whole celebration.
It was nice.
Of 14.
14-year-olds.
Yeah? Where? Yeah. Good. So has she gotten into that teenage Niyama bado tunangojea 16?
Which one is that one?
Yeah?
Which one is that one?
See the one where they talk about, we only hear from other parents about teens and how teens behave. Huh? Hey. How teens look at you and they wonder, Sasa wewe, what is eating your head?
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. And then you're looking at her and wondering, Sasa wewe, what's wrong with you?
I know, she's in her basketball era. She's almost 6 feet tall. She's, she's into sports and doing her thing. So she's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Big time.
I've not seen drama yet.
Nothing.
If I see drama, I know what to do with it.
It's a good thing.
No.
Oh, yeah. It's a good thing. We do not want to see drama at all. No. We do not want to see drama. Nah, nothing at all. Are we live streaming the show, Ednah? It's on.
We are.
It's on YouTube and on FaceTube. Everywhere.
Facebook.
Yeah. Is everywhere. Welcome everybody. How are you doing? Hoping you had a lovely weekend. City is still away, under the weather a little bit, and we hope that a little bit is just a little bit and that he will quickly recover and join us again shortly. Hii maneno inaenda namna hiyo. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing today. At 7 a.m, we'll be joined by the MP for Githunguri constituency, the Honorable Gadon Musha. She and others recently addressed the media, and they said, we, the young Turks of this parliament, are not going to sit back anymore and watch as things go however, humbler. We shall make sure that we do our job of oversight, and we shall be speaking out in and outside of this house. The Young Turks and their new movement. Who did I see in that press conference? Babu Owino was there. Caleb Amisu was there.
People who have issues.
Yeah. Those who are, I don't know whether they are young by age or young by experience.
In Parliament.
Yes.
Yeah, because now,
You
I
know?
think it's young by experience. Well, I don't know. You want to say young by experience? Babu Owino is not young by experience in Parliament.
He's only in his second term.
Yeah. Okay, in Parliament. Yeah. Sure.
So is Gadoni, just in her second term.
Exactly.
Kalba Missy, same. So, well, she'll be coming to us at 7 a.m. to have a conversation. And then at 8 o'clock, you see the story that we've been talking about HIV, AIDS, transmission, prevalence in the country and all. We will have it in depth today. The CEO of that National Syndemic Diseases Control Council, Dr. Ruth Libon Masha, will come at 8 o'clock to tell us what they're observing at the Syndemic Diseases Control Council. Why the youth appear to be ditching condoms and preferring to go for PEP. Why? Okay. And then at 9 a.m., so the crackdown on alcohol has been going on across the country, and it's been big. It's had an impact on those who are running the business of pubs and restaurants. The national chairman of the Pubs, Entertainment and Restaurants Association of Kenya, Michael Kirago Mudhami, comes in at 9 to talk about the impact of this crackdown on their legitimate business and on drinkers. Let's hear about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the conversation that we'll be having. If you're online, let us know where you're tuned in from. Thank you very much for everybody who's tuning across the globe. Let's know. Are you in Kenya? Are you not? If you're not in Kenya, where are you? What are you doing there? For how long have you been there? When are you planning to come back? Are you planning to come back at all? Tell us all those things.
Okay. Okay, so we're looking at rainy conditions in Nairobi this morning. Likely to see a high of 26 and lows of 17 today. Looking into Nakuru this morning, we'll see highs of 25 and lows of 16, mostly cloudy for now at 17. It's 15 and cloudy in Nyeri with highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 24 in a partly cloudy Eldoret at 15. Mombasa is clear at 27 with highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 32, where it's mostly clear in Malindi at 28. It's 20 and mostly cloudy in Kisumu with highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 26 as well in a mostly cloudy Kakamega at 18. Kampala is cloudy at 20 with highs of 26, while Dar es Salaam this morning at 25 is cloudy with highs of 29. It's 10 degrees and cloudy in Johannesburg with highs of 16, and we're looking into a mostly cloudy Mogadishu at 28 with highs of 33. It's partly cloudy at 12 degrees in Addis Ababa with highs of 24. Light rain showers in Lagos this morning at 28 with highs of 33, and the clouds are beckoning in Kinshasa at 24 with highs of 28. Monday afternoon is partly sunny at 20 in Beijing with highs of 22, and it's partly cloudy this morning with thunderstorms in Paris at 11 with highs of 21. London is cloudy at 11 with highs of 17, while in New York Sunday night it's clear at 7 with highs of 15. We'll see lows of 4.
At 6:15, let's salimia jamaa na marafiki.
Okay, Evans Ntabo says good morning. Yes, CT's been greeted. Eric and Nyaboke, my condolences. Accidents over the weekend, Kenya is terrible. We've seen others this weekend, and this is the thing, it's not just one that we saw this weekend, and quite tragic. So indeed, our hearts go out to those who lost their loved ones, and our heart yearns for a time where we can see that there's order on the roads. Robinson Kisero says, Hong Kong is where I am. Good to be back. First week, it was so difficult to connect with you guys, but we're here today.
Karibu.
All right. Looking forward to a fruitful discussion ahead. Iben Chokisi is where Joseph Kimonge is tuned in from this morning and says, God's blessing this week. Joram Mombo says, good morning from Mombasa with love. Good morning, beautiful people. Mko wapi leo? Tuko hapa. Where are you? Hello, Princess Ndu. CT Eric Ruto has a bill to give. Washed out politician CES positions. Refurbish his office and his deputy. Have an office of the PM spouses, but not pay for doctors.
No, we must live within our means.
Yeah, we have to live within our means. It's a thing. Dominic Abuga says, good morning. Joseph Makua says, good morning from Team Situation Room. Merrill, Marsabit County. My unsolicited advice.
That's you up, Yuko? In Marsabit?
Merile.
Merile?
Yeah.
Nice.
Joseph Makua is also...
Merile ni kwa Rendile.
Oh, yeah? Oh, okay. Joe Mungai says his unsolicited advice to the striking lab techs: you don't have a recognition agreement. Your strike is unprotected. There is trouble ahead.
Okay.
Alex Nai says Lucille is spiced. Good morning, my people. Dr. Venvik is tuning from Tudor in Mombasa. And Sir George Gasharidi says, good morning, Indo City. Eric, looking forward to a great show here. It's raining too, yes. Deno Mwanza says, good morning, tuning in from Kikuyu. Brian Otieno says, you've muted us. Who's muted who? Okay.
Unasikia mute.
Nikama.
Alright.
So people are complaining about the sound.
Okay.
Wilfred Odhiambo says, please fix the sound before I run mad. Okay. Ednah's doing like that. Don't worry. She's having a look at what's going on. Good morning, people tuned in from London, Ontario. There is a solar eclipse that is meant to happen today. The world will go dark and then light. And then we will see what will happen. Ken Kurir wishes Amia happy 14th birthday. Yes, Mungu ambariki sana. Amen. Oganyi Malala says, good morning. Blessed new week. Samuel Bakora says, good morning. Always a pleasure. Have a great day, folks. And Mogere Kinara says, good morning. Thank you so much, man. Andrew Senior says, good morning. Georgia Koth is also tuned in. Says, good morning to everybody. Eric, City, Ndu, Edna, Yego. Another morning of enlightenment. I'm watching live from Miami in Florida. Tari wants us to ask what Mushomba specifically where she was when the affordable housing bill was being voted on in Parliament.
She was in Parliament. She voted no.
She voted no. She was right there. She's been very vocal about that. You were asking people where they are, Eric.
Wakwapi.
R says he's here in Iceland. And he's been in Iceland for, I'm assuming R is a man, but R could be a woman.
All right.
And they're saying they've been in Iceland for 25 years. They've lived in Iceland for the last 25 years.
Wow.
How about that?
Okay.
Andrew also says a serious public health matter at our mortuaries with ongoing power outages where bodies are being impacted. This is true.
Yeah.
Second time I've heard this now. Ruth Karenge says she's joining from Minneapolis in Minnesota. Says she's been gone for more than a decade. About coming back is debatable. Wondering which side of the debate will CT and Ndu.
You're right.
Which specific debate are you
Whether
talking
she
about?
should come back
Whether
or
you
not.
should come back or not.
Well,
that depends on a number of things, Ruth. You know?
Been in Minneapolis for more than a decade. Okay.
It really depends on, a number of things. So we'd have to hear a few more details then decide what side of the debate we'd be on.
Come back, Ruth. Come back.
Come back, darling.
Give me another. What?
Try. I'll keep you satisfied. Maybe that's what Kenya's trying to tell you, Ruth. Then there's Washington Okechi, who's answered you and says, good morning. Now he's saying he's tuned in from MIT, Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Right.
And he says, you're beautiful. Are you single? Oh, wait. I don't know if he's talking to you, Ruth. I don't know. I'm not sure who he's talking to. Okay. I thought he was talking to Ruth. I thought he was responding to Ruth. And he's not.
He's not talking to Ruth.
Evans says, good morning from Mansfield in Texas. And everybody's here this morning. Lovely for you guys all to tune in. Thanks so much.
Good morning, everybody. There's a guy who calls himself Uncle Michael on social media. He is sending greetings from top of the table.
Touche.
He's saying, from top of the table, good morning, everybody. He's an Arsenal fan. Sindio you? Oh, it's me with the proverb.
It is you.
Oh no, hold on. So CT says this week we are going to this country called the Kingdom of Morocco. Sawa sawa, 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 sawa. The proverb. What is in the head of a camel is not in the head of the camel driver. What's in the head of the camel is not in the head of the camel driver. Unaona hiyo maneno?
Nimeona hiyo. Ndio sababu they put the strings. Because where I want you to go as a camel is not necessarily where you want to go. So I have to guide you. I have to bridle you in order to take you there.
So don't just tell the camel, let's go.
No, camel will be like, what? First of all, I'm bigger than you. Secondly, I'm stronger than you. I'm going to go wherever I want to go. That's like, why you have to bit and bridle the thing.
Yeah. Okay. Let's look at the headlines.
Okay, headlines. They are popping this morning. On the front page of the Standard today, the cost of being Kenyan. When everything seems to go up from birth to death, Kenyans will now pay more, not only to be citizens, but also to sustain themselves, owing to the increased cost of acquiring important documents like birth and death certificates, national identification cards, and passports. Now, just below that, there's another interesting one where the president has said, let's live within our means. Ruto's plea to medics.
Let's live within
our means.
Okay.
Yes. We'll get into that story.
Okay.
Lest you get annoyed at 6:22.
Okay.
Raila gets AU job boost in West Africa tour. And genocide 30 years after the massacre. What happened? Importers shun SGR over costs. And quite a lot happened. There's a picture there of the president and First Lady, President of Kenya, Dr. William Ruto, and the First Lady Rachel Ruto being blessed, or at least hands of people are being pointed in their general direction. And it would appear as though they're being prayed for.
Where was this?
This was in AIC Eldoret yesterday.
Okay.
This is when he was telling us to live within our means. Oh no, telling the doctors to live within their means, not anybody else. On the front page of The Nation, we can't afford to pay you, Ruto tells doctors. We must live within our means. President Ruto has finally broken his silence on the crisis facing the health sector, telling the striking medics that there is no money to pay them. Voila, there it is, pop and plain as day. The president urged these striking doctors, clinical officers and laboratory technicians to reconsider their stance, stating that the country is struggling with a ballooning wage bill and meager resources. Many things are to be said about that in the coming minutes for sure. There's also a picture in the middle of the paper of a former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, and it talks about Uhuru's political traitors. This, many would say, could be speculation or innuendo, but it says Mr. Kenyatta had a falling out with President Ruto, his then deputy, in the run-up to the 2022 polls. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta has rekindled the politics of betrayal in the country after launching a scathing attack on unnamed traitors in the political scene. This comes as Azimio leader Raila Odinga, who he backed in the last polls against his then deputy President William Ruto, has started working with Dr. Ruto, who is even spearheading his bid for the African Union Commission chairperson's seat. So, unnamed traitors is what he said to have said in his speech. On the bottom of The Nation, neglect by state leaves education sector in private hands. Kenyans are spending billions of shillings to educate their children in private schools due to declining quality of learning in public ones, despite paying huge taxes to finance basic education. This is a study that has been found out by The Nation. Of course, we will look into that. It's 30 years after the Rwanda genocide, and Chris Erasmus is talking about the horror that truly was. Horror. It really was.
The Business Daily, Kenya lifts 4-year freeze on issuing mining permits. Kenya has started processing permits and licenses for mining and prospecting of minerals after more than a 4-year hiatus amidst growing concerns among industry players over the slow pace of approvals. The PS for mining is called Elijah Mwangi, and he said slightly more than 400 applicants are at different stages of approval by the Mining Rights Board. The applications under consideration for approval represent about a fifth of the estimated 1,500 submitted to the board since the partial lifting in December 2019 moratorium last October. Imagine hiyo mambo yote. The other headline, interest rates on treasury bills drop first time in 2 years. Hiya, last week's treasury bill auction, for instance, saw the weighted average interest rate of accepted bids fall marginally to about 16.7% for the 91-day paper, 16.87% for the 182-day paper, and 16.989% for the 364-day paper. This is from rates which were as high as 16.72, 0.88, 0.98 a week earlier. So, mambo inaonekana, things are changing in terms of the markets. Ticker headlines in the Business Daily. State defaults on civil servants' pension contributions. Okay?
Where?
A cash crunch at the National Treasury saw the government skip remitting pensions for civil servants in the 6 months to December 2023. 6 months to December 2023. Please remember, pension is among the things called CFS, Consolidated Fund Spend. Okay?
Yes.
First charge.
Yeah.
Is debt, pension, and payment to independent offices. Mm-hmm. So if the country defaulted on that for 6 months, we are in default. You can bring in all kizungu mingi that you want.
You're in default.
But we are in default. Cane farmers face losses in E-Team's switch. Sugarcane farmers supplying Butali sugar mills are staring at losses from delays in harvesting their cane after the miller asked them for invoices through E-Teams.
Sorry?
Butali sugar mills has told farmers, as you bring the E-Teams invoice so that we can process your payment.
Yes.
Sasa farmers wako ati tunaleta nini?
Nini hiyo?
E-Teams. Fane, hiyo ni nini po? E-Teams.
Gani hiyo?
Hiyo ni gani?
Tin.
Team.
Tin. Tin.
Nilete E-Team.
Tin gani hiyo?
Tin gani? E-Teams. Sasa
hiyo.
Iko shida hapo. Chinese firm to hire 4,000 tailors after Rivertex partnership. Textile manufacturer Rivertex has partnered with a Chinese company to produce fabric and garment products as it eyes to exploit opportunities under AGOA markets. AGOA is coming to an end. Is it this year or next year?
2025.
Right?
Yeah. I think. Are we? Yes.
All right. Safaricom Mali unit assets hit 1.4 billion shillings. If you go to the Safaricom M-Pesa app, you'll find an icon for something called Mali, and they tell you invest money. Mm-hmm. So basically, you can put in money and invest into it. It's run by Genghis Capital, and it runs on the Safaricom platform. It has 1.4 billion shillings. People have saved 1.4 billion shillings on that app alone.
For what? It's
Savings.
different from these other things, like
it's like a M-Shwari,
yes,
right?
okay.
Where you go and save. Yeah. So this is just basically a product for saving.
Yeah.
Regulated by the Capital Markets Authority.
Okay.
So you put in as little as you want, as much as you want, right? And you can put in withdraw. It earns interest on a daily basis, blah, 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 this and the other. 1.4 B, people have put in that. Nisome the Star.
Fanya hivyo.
Higher. The Star, top right-hand corner. Is it still teal green? Or has it changed?
It's still teal.
Teal green. They have a photo of Wavinya Ndeti appearing to be saying, usiweke siasa kwa roho. Ukiweka siasa kwa roho, utakufa. And then the quote here is, I am not poor, Governor Wavinya tells of her rivals. So fikiri mimi ni maskini. Timokuja hapa kuniletea shida. Mimi sio maskini. Silali njaa. Okay. The other headlines on the side of the paper. Guilty, how former MCA plotted murder of estranged wife. What do you do when the very man who was meant to protect and love you becomes your abuser? Where do you run to when his obsessive and insecure personality refuses to let you live in peace but hunts you down to death? This was the fate of Lucy Njambi, who died in the hands of her former husband Samuel Njoroge, a former Ruiri MCA, on January 24th, 2018. The two always had a strained relationship based on the evidence presented by the prosecution in the case. So they're basically taking, this is a case that's been in court. and the man has been found guilty, and now they're saying this is how he plotted to kill his estranged wife. And the headline here is, no resources, Ruto to striking doctors. We must live within our means. He is asking the striking doctors to resume work and accept what the government has offered to hire intern doctors. Okay, hire. There's an opinion piece here authored by Peter Njenga. Engineer Peter Njenga is the managing director of the Kenya KenGen, electricity generating company.
Yes.
KenGen.
Yes.
Power pool, sure path to energy success. And then there's a brilliant photo here of President worshipping at AIC in Eldoret. But the president here is shaking hands of little Kenyans, small little babies.
Just the little
telling them,
children.
Sasa, Bari, and kids are just happy to shake the president's hand. Okay? Bang in the middle of the paper. Face of Kenya, the Public Service Commission is seeking powers to enable it to require unbiased recruitment. State mulls Kalenjins and Kikuyus jobs cap. Hiring skewed to favor major ethnic groups while some communities are underrepresented. Now, this is an interesting story. If you look at that headline, what's the headline saying?
Which one?
State mulls Kalenjins and Kikuyus job cap. PSC is seeking powers to enable it to require unbiased recruitment. What do you understand from the headline?
State malls.
Kalenjins and Kikuyus jobs cap, and the PSC is seeking powers to enable it to require unbiased recruitment. What do you think they're saying? What do you think the story is saying? Is it that the Public Service Commission is saying, you know what, people, let's forget about this thing of looking at, we have so many Kikuyus, so many Kalenjins, let's just hire people?
A higher qualified.
Or is it saying that the government is actually looking at, hey, we have too many Kalenjins and Kikuyus, so let's actually put a freeze on hiring Kalenjins and Kikuyus?
It sounds like the latter from that headline. Yeah, they're actually thinking like, oh my gosh, this is what we've done. We've hired so many Kalenjins and Kikuyus. We need to now go back to the organizing and say, can we then just make sure that we are hiring across board?
The headline actually inside the paper is saying that government aims to freeze hiring of Kikuyus and Kalenjins.
Interesting.
You're applying for a job. Kikuyus need not apply.
Okay. If you are from applications are acceptable from all parts of Kenya, except
yes. Kalenjins and Kikuyus need not apply. Where? Hey.
Are you ready?
Let's take this break. 27 minutes to 7. Tell us about traffic. We'll look at the stories in detail.
Okay, it's a few minutes to 7 o'clock, and we're looking at traffic starting to build in the city. There it is on the Globe Cinema overpass, already bumper to bumper, coming in hot on Murang'a Road, and also coming off a Thika Superhighway through towards the Pangani underpass. Traffic is already doing the thing. Kiambu Road starting to build as well. As you're coming off of Wayaki Way, you're not going to have too much of an issue. If you're intending to get to the city, now might be the time to think about going the long way then to get round into the city, because you're not going to be able to use Uhuru Highway, and that's coming off of that Chiromo exit. Okay, apart from that, I think everybody's just kind of waking up this Monday morning, you know, working out the kinks and saying let's get on the road, because for now nothing else seems to be popping on other streets. Let's talk when it does on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
What's interesting?
Okay, neglect by state leaves education in private hands. I'm going to leave the living within the means story to you to look at. Let's look at this one, whereby because the state has neglected public education, private sector has had to take it on. You want to juxtapose this against Rwanda, for example, where in the last 2 years, a majority, and we are saying the highest percentage, I believe there are very few private schools left, and even in a short time they might close, because the government has done so well with public sector education that private schools has no options but to shut down. Now, here, Kenya, Kenyans, you're spending billions of shillings to educate children in private schools due to declining quality of learning in public ones, despite paying huge taxes to finance basic education. Now, this is a study that's been carried out by The Nation, and they're saying the analysis also shows that successful governments have failed to match population growth with the expansion of public education infrastructure, thereby causing congestion in schools and compromising the quality of education offered. Parents and other stakeholders who spoke said that for a gradual process of forced privatization has taken root, especially at childhood education development and primary school levels. Questions now arise over accountability of funds meant for the education sector, which has allocated over 608 billion shillings in the current national budget, translating to about 30% of government expenditure. Curiously, the full amount in the budget does not reach schools, as they are owed billions by the government in unremitted capitation. That number, as we stand, is 54.4 billion shillings owed.
What?
Yeah, over 5 years.
Okay.
Families with children of school-going age who live in urban areas are most affected by lack of public schools and therefore turn to private education. Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Mashogu has admitted that close to 70% of children in Nairobi County attend private institutions. He added that of the 48,000 mean grade E's in the 2023 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examinations, Nairobi accounted for 10,000 of them.
10,000?
Yes, a quarter of those. Of the 48,000 E's in the most recently completed KCSE,
10,000 E's were in Nairobi.
E's were in Nairobi. Mashogu said that lack of investment in public education in the city had created a huge shortage of schools, which private entrepreneurs had come in to plug. He said that his office, together with the county education department, oh God, I don't even want to read it.
Just continue, please. Just continue.
They will establish a special task force to vet private schools on their compliance with the Ministry of Education guidelines in establishment of learning institutions. He said, we are operating in a very bad structure in Nairobi, something we must remedy. We'll identify public land in collaboration with the county government to establish more public schools and also engage the private sector to support our efforts.
This is another of those tutatenga, tutaambiana, tutakaa chini, tutaform task force, blood nonsense. How many times have we said it on this show? How many times? That there has been a deliberate move by government to privatize education in this country. Deliberate.
To shirk all responsibility.
And you can just clearly see it over time. We have asked very many times on this show, when was the last time that you saw a new public school established in Nairobi? New, brand swanking new from the ground up.
No, please.
Apart from the one that was expanded by the former late Kibera MP, what was his name?
Okoh.
Ken Okoh, right? How many new public schools have you seen being established in this city?
Nothing, nada.
The old Kanjo schools that we've had, how many have been expanded to accommodate the population that has grown tremendously in this city? The population of Nairobi is 5 million today. The population of Nairobi was less than 1 million 30 years ago. What have we done?
Nothing.
Okay, so we've seen a proliferation of private schools in Nairobi. Yes. The largest chunk of private schools are in Nairobi, or at least catering for Nairobi residents, okay? But at the same time, the largest disempowered population in terms of accessing education is Nairobi residents. If you go to all these slum areas of Nairobi where there is no land, there is no school. Kids from Mukuru, Koruben cannot walk to a school. A nearby school is very, very far from them. So what do they end up doing? They end up going to those two places that Machogu is saying, we are now going to look at them
check and
check whether they have quality. So where have you been all this time?
You're gonna come at folks and check about their quality? Are you kidding? What option have you given in terms of where they can actually establish these institutions of learning? I mean, come on. Seriously speaking, why do we come at this thing with a sledgehammer? Why?
You know,
Your initial job has been undone.
So the thing is, we need to identify public land. We are identifying public land for houses, right?
Yeah.
We are identifying public land for housing.
For building houses.
We have how many housing projects that are going on in this affordable housing project in Nairobi? Several. How many have been identified for schools? These affordable housing projects that are going on in Nairobi, is there a school coming up? We know there's one affordable housing thing up behind us. Is it Viwandani somewhere to cater for the Nakuru population? Is there a public school being built right now as we speak there?
Built
No.
school? No.
There's one in South Sea, an affordable housing project in South Sea, and Langata, right? Is there one school that's being built alongside that as we speak? No. There's an affordable housing project. Where else? There are so many affordable housing projects going on. Street Park Road, there's a whole entire Eastlands, there's a whole affordable housing. Have you seen a school being built? Machogu is saying we are going to identify land, tutafanya, tutatenga.
Where is the land that they want to?
Land is plenty. If they wanted to put up schools today in Nairobi, they would put up schools today in Nairobi for our children to go to school. They would hire teachers, or at least just have teachers in those schools.
Let me give you the number so that you can be slightly more irritated, okay? According to data from the ministry, the same ministry, not another one, so they are aware of this information.
They're aware.
216 public ECD centers exist in the county.
216 ECDs.
Yes, okay. 211 primary schools, 193 junior schools, and 107 secondary schools in Nairobi County, serving an estimated population of 5 million people. Conversely, now, there are 952 private ECD centers. There are 780 private primary schools. There are 672 private junior schools and 207 private secondary schools. This indicates that nearly 71% of the educational institutions in the capital city are privately owned.
And by the way, mind you, all those private, we are not talking about the non-formal school. There are very many informal. Those areas we're talking about in the slums. Yeah. The schools that are there are not recognized, are not categorized. They're informal learning institutions, particularly when it comes to ECDs. They're just daycare centers, blah, blah, this and the other. All right? The junior primary, they're informal schools. We are going to... It's good to have the conversation, but can you please just put action into it? Because this is another conversation.
I've seen a comment here talking about Kenya needs to hire teachers from the UK. For me, the issue is not about training of teachers. I think Kenya's teachers are very well skilled. They're highly trained. They're highly valued. It is not the teachers. It's not them. The teachers are all right, if not better than most.
Yeah.
This other nonsense of facilitation, of facilities, of infrastructure, of quality assurance, of quality insistence, that's the problem. Of putting money where you're actually supposed to put it. That's the issue. That's the problem.
Our problem is a continuous and consistent lack of investment in the education sector. Okay? So that now we've left it and said, okay, so CDF, part of this now, the CDF agenda is to construct schools. There are some areas where you'll hear that CDF has constructed a school. There are very many areas. We have 17 constituencies in this country. 17 constituencies times 140 million shillings per constituency going into CDF. That's a lot of money. Have you seen schools being built through CDF in this city? So what is CDF money doing in this city? We are talking about over 1 billion shillings every year that goes into constituencies.
In this county,
every year.
100 million shillings.
Yeah.
Where does
that alone is 1.7 B. Okay? Now you tell me, where is this money going? Every year there's a new 100 million shillings. And 100 is the minimum. It's usually more than 100. There's 100 million shillings every year going into this. Wanapeana bursary. Wanapeana. Where is the money going? Why are we not building schools? CDF has been in existence for more than 10 years. That's over 1 trillion shillings, close to it. Where is the money going? So let's say it's 100 billion, close to 200 billion shillings has gone to members of parliament. And the main thing for CDF is schools, education. And then now those two small things, those small road here, even the small road is not even mostly CDF. It's not. They're not doing new police stations. Which new police station has CDF done? They're not doing where?
Oh my God.
Anyway, let's live within our means. That's what our president is telling us, okay? I don't know which headline to look at. All the papers have this story. Page 9 of the Star. They've said it's in page 9, it's not there, so move away the Star. Let's go into the Standard. The Standard says this story is on page what? Is a story on page 11. Yeah. Let's go to page 11 and look at what the president said in terms of, let's live within our means, let's... Brother...
Breathe.
My mic has gone off. President William Ruto is urging striking health workers to go back to work, saying the government has no money to pay them. The head of state said, as a country, we must learn to live within our means. Speaking during a service at AIC Fellowship in Eldoret yesterday, President Ruto explained that the government spends a huge portion of the budget on salaries. I know we have a situation with our doctors and interns. I want to implore them that it's important for us as a nation to agree that we must live within our means. We cannot continue to spend the money we do not have. He announced that a conference will be held between April 15th and 17th to discuss the country's wage bill. He noted that the government has been spending 1.1 trillion shillings annually to pay salaries and wages, which amounts to 47% of the country's 2.2 trillion shilling revenue collection. That is way above the 35% of what we should be spending in accordance with the law. We need a conversation so that those of us who are earning salaries must be responsible. He emphasized that the country should progressively reduce the wage bill so as to free more resources, create jobs for the youth, fund healthcare, fund education, and fund development. He said the government will reduce the budget from the current 4.2 trillion to 3.7 trillion so that the country can live within its means. Yeah. So first of all, yes, the conference is coming up next week. We were told that by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission chairperson, Lynn Mungich. We are spending 47% of our ordinary revenue on wage bill. Also, we are told, because we did the math the other day, we are spending 80% of our revenue on paying debt.
Yes.
We are spending 47% of our revenue to pay salaries. We are spending how much to pay. We are not paying pension, but we should be spending to pay pension.
So way over.
47 plus 80 plus...
It came to about one... Okay, those numbers came to about 114%.
Yes.
Okay. And you've not done development...
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. We are borrowing money to pay. Okay, sour. And so you're telling the doctors, look guys, we cannot continue raising this thing. We have to have a conversation, okay? Okay, let's live within our means. As the president is saying that, he was this photo on the front page of which one has that photo? Nice photo. There's a nice photo of the president speaking, and he's standing next to a brand new Lexus motor vehicle.
It is on page 4 of The Nation.
It's on page 4 of The Nation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some brand new swanky Lexus. We saw the president attending a conference the other day. What was it? That KICC. There was a big thing.
There was.
Oh, it was a Safari rally.
Right.
Yeah. He drove himself to the Safari rally in this brand swanking new Lexus Motogari. So the president is buying new cars and he's telling interns, live within your means.
What's wrong with you?
You see, it's about, like City keeps saying, it's about optics. It's about the optics. Yes, all of us are prepared to tighten our belt, to live within our means. But can we see all of us visibly living within our means?
Can we all live within our means?
Yes.
This is the question. It does a damning thing to the psyche of the person that you're asking to live within their means, whereby, like you say, the car that you're driving is tear rubber, as we would say. You've not even removed the cling film from the seats.
Inaitwa yawanga.
That's what you people call it here?
Yes.
Okay, Nigeria call it tear rubber.
Haijatolewa karatasi.
You have not tear rubber.
Yes.
And you're still driving the car. And then you're coming to tell people who've not had a job for the last, I don't know how long, you're telling people who have not been posted to their intern positions, which is required by the government itself in order for them to get a permit or in order for them to get a license to start to practice.
Yep.
You've not given them that opportunity yet.
Yeah.
You know what? If it was that other things in the country had been done, do you understand what I'm saying? As in, we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we say, you know what, doctors, we only have just a little bit left in order for us to now send some of you to your postings. Then maybe, and this is a strong maybe I would understand. But everywhere you look, there is something that has not been done. And everywhere you look, there is extravagance personified in folks who actually should be the ones leading the charge of this living within your means. And it is not happening. The optics count for a lot. And it's not just optics, actually. This is actual practice of what is being done. Just the other day, we were being told how people bought an umbrella for 3 million shillings, a watch for 750,000, a chair for 648,000 shillings. That's what you're being told. And then you're telling the doctors who have to deliver life, care for Kenya's people, that they should live within their means and they should just wait. How on earth do you think it looks?
While you're buying a watch worth 600,000 shillings for State House, a watch
Not
for State House.
Clock, because clock, in my understanding, is the one that you put on the wall. Everybody will be looking at it.
Watch.
But watch is the one you put on your hand. Abi, has it changed?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you expect these people to do? How do you expect that they will look at you and take what you said and ingest it and then practice? It is not going to happen. It is impossible that they will look at you with such disdain and they will say, what? This is the person who's telling me to live within my means? Look at his representatives. His representatives, that he is, of course, the ones that represent him wherever they go. Look at how they're living, and then they're telling us to live within our means. Then we don't go to work.
These are the young doctors that are very active, and they are active on social media. I mean, they are intelligent, they are educated, they are active on social media. Every time the president steps out and whatever he wears, the latest one is, I think, in a meeting, one of these meetings that he had gone to in West Africa, the belt that the president was wearing. And people have gone ahead and looked at, this is the belt, this is the brand, how much does it cost? Hundreds of thousands of shillings for a belt being worn by your president. The vehicle that he's being driven in is worth tens of millions of shillings. And then he says, let's live within our means.
No.
And then the other game that they play is they come from a budget of 3.2 trillion shillings. They go to 3.6 trillion shillings. And then they propose 4.2 trillion shillings. And then they're like, oh, no, let's cut that back to 3.7 trillion shillings. And the president says, actually, we've cut back our budget to 3.7. What do you mean?
Which water are you drinking? I don't understand.
It's like sitting here today and saying, you know what, I'm going to move from where I live. I'm going to live in a house that I pay rent for 250,000 shillings. Then in the evening I come and say, actually, I've cut back our budget. Instead of moving to that house for 250,000 shillings, I want us to move into a house for 200,000 shillings. We are currently living in a 70k house.
Yeah. So
But
we've cut by 50,000.
Yeah.
But we'll still move. What are you drinking? It's the strong stuff very early in the morning.
You're living in a 70k house. You are in 3 arrears for 3 months. Let me tell you what kind of arrears we're talking about. A cash crunch saw the government skip remitting pensions for civil servants in the 6 months to December 2023. Controller of Budget, Dr. Margaret Nyakango, has revealed that the government did not remit the pension for the first half of the financial year 2023-2024 to the Public Service Superannuation Scheme. The Treasury only managed to settle arrears of 4.59 billion, which it had skipped remitting to the superannuation scheme between May and June last year. The Government of Kenya's contribution remitted to the PSSC had 6-month contribution arrears, as the 4.59 billion was for the previous year. The government introduced the PSS scheme in 2021 to reduce its pension budget after years of delays in putting the retirement plan in place. Contributions to the scheme were staggered, starting from 2% of the gross pay of civil servants in 2021 to 5% in 2022, eventually 7.5% in 2023. The government contributes 15% of the gross pay of the workers to this particular scheme. It has not done that since July last year. Are we together, my friend? So you are living in a house, okay, where you are not paying pension. You are delayed. You are not remitting. You deduct your employees' money for NHIF. You are not remitting to NHIF. You are collecting taxes and you have the highest budget item is called education. You are not remitting money to education. You have a contract with the people of Kenya in the constitution to remit money to counties. You are delaying in remitting money to counties. Doctors, young intern doctors are supposed to be posted for internship. You are not posting them because hauna pesa.
Money.
MPs are putting you on a leash because you're not remitting CDF on time. However, you're buying a new Lexus.
You've not sent money to counties. You've not sent money to counties.
Yeah.
County staff have not been paid for a couple of. But then, Gary, do you... Let me tell you something. You see this doctor strike?
Yeah.
All those things aside, yes, you took the oath. You said you would do 1, 2, 3. You said you... Let me tell you, this alone, because what are you doing? You're basically spitting in my face and telling me that my concerns are invalid, or that whatever it is that I'm supposed to be doing really doesn't matter, and that you really just don't care. If you need a physical manifestation about how a government cares about you, it is here. Believe them. When somebody is telling you, believe them. Believe them. And here we are, and we are saying, oh, perhaps we'll find the money somewhere else. No, there's nothing. Believe them. That's what they're telling you. We don't care. You figure it out along the way.
Bure.
1,500 interns were ready to send them to go to work. How? How? And these problems are historical. And if they're historical, they will be futuristic. Let me tell you. It happened before, it's going to happen in the future. Whereby you tell them to go back to work and then we'll sort you out later. It won't happen. If you want to show somebody what you will do later, do it now. Do it now.
Do it within... I've seen a comment here by Eddie. Eddie says, the president is living within his means. His means allow him to buy a new car. What's your problem?
What's your problem? Wait, Nani, that's his means. If your means will not allow you, that's your problem.
Haya, nimenyamaza. Nimenyamaza. Tell us one story before we go to it.
Yeah, okay, fine. So, the story about Uhuru's political traitors, it's interesting because it would appear as though somebody is betraying the other. It's all innuendo, like I said, but okay. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta has rekindled the politics of betrayal in the country after launching a scathing attack on unnamed traitors in the political scene. This comes as Azimio leader Raila Odinga, who was backed at the last polls against his then Deputy President William Ruto, has started working with Dr. Ruto, who is even spearheading his bid for the African Union Commission chairperson seat. So he did some speaking, yes he did, over the weekend, and it would appear as though he said that, you know, people have, somebody who's a traitor has done what? Has betrayed you, yes. So he was not mincing his words. He took on political leaders whom he termed as traitors, lamenting how the political field in Kenya is full of betrayal. The development comes at a time when the fourth president was for the past 4 months, steered clear of politics in the country. Kenyatta was attending the Episcopal ordination of the auxiliary bishops-elect Simon Peter Kamoe and Wallace Nganga Gashehe at St. Mary's Musongari grounds in Nairobi on Saturday. Riding on a sermon by the bishop who talked about betrayal in the church, Kenyatta lashed out at unnamed individuals, warning they will not go far with their betrayal. And I quote, "The nuncio has talked about betrayals in the church, but I want to say that I don't see a lot of betrayal in the church. Betrayal is on the other side," as he pointed to the side occupied by political leaders. To the traitors, I want to tell you that even Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus, but he later left pieces of silver and hanged himself. Everything will all come to an end.
What was the former president saying?
That they're political betrayers, that there is betrayal in politics. And that
well, that's par for the cause. I mean, that's obvious.
He was trying to say something.
Did he betray anyone?
Maybe he's talking about himself. Did I say that out loud? Sorry. Somebody betrayed somebody, that's for sure. Because he wasn't speaking, he wasn't mincing his words. He just said, you know, there are betrayers.
Okay.
There's betrayal.
Anyway, let's have a conversation in the next hour with Gadon Musha, the MP for Githunguri constituency. These people who are calling themselves the Young Turks, who are providing fresh opposition in Parliament. What does that mean? Okay, good morning, 7 a.m.
The Goslar commenced. President William Ruto said the government is broke and can only pay the intern doctors as per the government's proposal of reduced salaries of up to 91%. The president added that if the doctors accept the proposal, all interns waiting to start their internship will collect their letters of appointment.
We mind about them. We value the service they give to our nation. We must live within our means. The resources we have are only sufficient to pay 70,000 shillings for intern doctors. It is not a salary. It is a stipend for only 1 year, and then they will be employed. I know we have a situation in Kenya with our doctors and interns. I want to implore on them that it is important for us as a nation to agree that we must live within our means. We must live within our means, fellow countrymen and women.
The head of state said the government should address the public wage bill instead of increasing it.
We are spending 1.1 trillion shillings every year to pay salaries and wages of the 2.2 trillion we collect. It is way above what we should be spending. We are spending 47%. Our wage bill is 47% of our revenues. It should be 35% according to the law. So we are way above. So we need a conversation so that those of us who earn salary must be responsible, and we can progressively reduce our wage bill so that we can free more resources to create jobs for our young people.
He said the government intends to reduce the country's budget from 4.2 trillion shillings to 3.7 trillion shillings in line with the current economic situation. Meanwhile, doctors responded to the president by announcing another phase of the protest that will end with a conference on Tuesday. KMPDU Secretary General Davjatella said the government has not yet shown the intention to address the problems and the issues, therefore the strike is still on. Now, 8 Kenya Bureau of Standards officials have been suspended in connection with the fake fertilizer scandal, which is the subject of investigations by Directorate of Criminal Investigation Detectives and Parliament. The 8 were interdicted over the issuance of certification and marks of quality to 2 companies which have been linked to the substandard fertilizer. These as 120 bags of the alleged fertilizer was nabbed in Bungoma County.
Kwa saa hii hatuwezi tukadhibitisha kama ni gushi ama sio gushi mpaka tualike watu ya KEBS, and most likely ipelekwe katika maabara ya serikali ili tudhibitishie kwamba ni safi na inaweza tumika na wakulima. Mifuko ni 120 iko blooded, ni county government of Bungoma.
The minister, if they align officers in the Ministry of Agriculture, kila mtu atabeba msalaba wake. Time is up, watu kujificha kwa makoti ya watu ama kwa majina ya watu. Kila mtu atatambulika kwa kazi, kwa maneno na kwa ishara na vitendo vyake.
Police in Wasingishu County arrested 3 suspects linked to the rampant theft of mobile phones in the Elgonview area of Eldoret. It is said 2 of the suspects are not area residents and have rented a house in Eldoret town where they have been operating from. The suspects are accused of snatching phones and fleeing on a motorcycle, then selling the phones through a shop operator in Eldoret town, who was also arrested as the 3rd suspect. Now, Sudanese paramilitary forces have killed at least 20 people in an attack on a village south of capital Khartoum. The rapid support forces attacked the village of Adam, 150 kilometers south of the city, according to a statement from the local resistance committee, one of the many pro-democracy groups that coordinate aid. Sudan's war between the military under Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and the RSF, commanded by his former deputy Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, began last April on the 15th now. Rwanda's President Paul Kagame says the international community had failed the country during the 1994 genocide as he paid tribute to the 800,000 victims when Hutu extremists tore apart the nation 30 years ago. In keeping with the tradition, the ceremony is on April 7th, the day Hutu militias unleashed their carnage in 1994, began with Kagame placing wreaths on mass graves and lighting a remembrance flame at the Kigali Genocide Memorial, where more than 250,000 victims are believed to be buried. As the day drew to a close, Okoh performed before thousands of people in a Kigali arena, holding up candles in memory of those killed in the slaughter. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
All right, a few minutes after 7 o'clock, we're looking at traffic still in the city today. Very heavy coming off of Thika Superhighway just past Survey. And then also even before that, we're looking at traffic coming in. It's steady. And we're coming past Kasarani at the stadium. And then even before that, wow, okay, quite some traffic. It's coming in all the way from KU, then out towards Githurai, and then heavy through towards the city centre. As you come onto Moranga Road, it will be heavy going towards the Globe Cinema, roundabout the overpass, and then coming in from Boulevard. We know that's busy as you then touch on that central part of the city. That part going past Boulevard towards Uhuru Highway is still closed off, so remember you can't use that. And also there's traffic on Landis Road. It's heading out towards Kamkunji at the roundabout. Very, very busy. It's also busy coming off of Jogo Road, so that part of the city extremely busy as we get into Monday. We're getting into traffic hours soon, but it looks like it has already started. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power.
How are you? Welcome to the second hour of the Situation Room. Happy Monday, the 8th day of April. Already. You know, it just sounds odd saying April. It's the 8th of April already, 2024. Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody who's joining us on social media, on X, on YouTube, on Facebook. Those who are tuning in on SpiceFM across the country, those who are now watching us on KTN Home, everybody from wherever you are across the globe, this is Kenya's biggest conversation. In the next hour, let's talk about putting the government in check and holding it accountable and holding those that we've put in office accountable for us. Our next guest is the Member of Parliament for the Githunguri constituency in Kiambu County, the Honorable Gadon Musha. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you doing?
Latiff. I'm fine. Good morning, sister.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very well. Karibu, karibu.
Thank you.
You look very well.
Thank you.
I like the hat look.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
My new brand.
What did you decide?
2023, 2024. Yeah. It's
Why?
my new brand.
What's the symbolism of it?
I think it just reminds me that I am who I am. just, it's just a way of building my self-esteem and appreciating myself. Yeah.
Very good.
It makes me feel like I am in charge.
Looks good on you.
Yeah.
Looks good on you. Senor,
Very.
It does.
Thank you. Thank you. I thank God.
CT sends his greetings. He's not in today.
Oh, okay.
But he has also sent me with the day's proverb. He says, this week the proverbs will be from the Kingdom of Morocco. And today's proverb is, what's in the head of the camel is not what's in the head of the camel driver.
True.
What's your interpretation of it?
That you may assume that you're my leader and you're thinking for me, but I have my own brain. Yeah, I have the capacity to think
Can
for
think
my
for
own.
myself.
Yeah, for my own. That's what I think.
That is so apt for you, isn't it?
I think so. Is it you who chose the proverb or
It is CT who chose the proverb.
No, and I wanted to see him.
He knew you were coming.
And interestingly, he got it from Morocco. Yeah, and Morocco's democracy is a little bit too far. We are ahead of them quite much. So I hope they also use that proverb so often. I hope. I hope. Yeah, it's a Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa, we saw you and other MPs recently addressing a media conference and saying that you've come together as a grouping of members of parliament who are deciding to take a different path. What path is this and who are you?
It's actually not a different path. It's just a new approach. There is a difference between a path and an approach. We just decided that we need to give a new paradigm shift in the way we've been debating and the way we've been approaching issues, specifically issues that require our contribution and our input at the National Assembly platform. And so we realized that Parliament of Kenya, currently the 13th Parliament, we have very many new members of Parliament who just came in and were absorbed into a certain way of thinking, a certain way of doing things. And somehow they were diverted from their core mandate, which is to represent, to advocate, to lobby, and to speak for the interest of the people who elect you as a member of Parliament. So we realized that this issue of party and partyism, patronage of parties, has actually taken the center stage, and Wanjiku is nowhere in consideration when it comes to the way we are debating and the way we are pushing policies and bills at the National Assembly platform. So we came together, people who think like they have their conscience on in terms of, are we doing the right thing? Are we speaking facts? Are we debating the way we are supposed to be debating? And we realize that there is a gap that we need to fill. And because, like most parties are patronized by party leaders, and every party leader has his own way of doing things and has issues that they need put across, we realize that they are over-patronizing. And over-patronizing means they are taking away the core duty of members of Parliament. And so we decided this is a time to undo the partyism cloth. It's time to shed off the overcoats, the political party overcloth. And once we are on that platform, that is the National Assembly platform, we perform our duty as members of Parliament. So we connected, we networked. Those MPs that feel that that's the way to go, we decided let's just come together. So we came together, members of Parliament from all manner of parties. Some of them are even independent members of Parliament, others are in the luring coalition, others are in the opposition, and we came together as colleagues, and we decided Wanjiku of Mathare and Wanjiku of Githunguri are actually going through the same thing. It doesn't matter whether Wanjiku of Mathare and Wanjiku of Githunguri are represented by different parties, or rather their members of Parliament are sponsored by different parties. But the issues Wanjiku of Githunguri and Wanjiku of Mathare and Wanjiku of Likoni is going through are the same. So we decided, let's come together. And what we did is that we realized that the older generation of members of parliament, most of them, I'm not saying all of them, but most of them still have that issue of, I can't be seen with Wamushomba because Wamushomba is from KK and I am from, for example, Azimio. And that party patronism is what actually is enslaving us. So we decided those that feel they are energetic enough and they are ready to face the political party wrath, let's do it. Let's come together and let's just say.
So how different will this be?
I think you can already see the difference. I mean, we have a voice. We can be able to stand and say, these are issues that are affecting Kenyans. These are issues we feel that they need to be addressed. And we've done like 2 pressers now. I mean, it has been 3 weeks of serious political energy and serious political information dissemination.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the thrust or the message behind all of this? Because there's so many things I want to ask. Where we're coming from a place whereby members of parliament, especially seeing the power that an individual behind a political party has, members of parliament then usually are beholden not to the party but to the individual. The party is just dressing, right? How will the message then come clear, and what exactly is that message?
I think the message is, like you've put it, the message that we are giving out has got nothing to do with political parties. It has got something to do with what is ailing Wanjiku, what is agonizing us, what are the issues that are pressing us as Kenyans, irrespective of our political parties. For heaven's sake, Latiff, when you sit here and broadcast, you don't broadcast because you are from Kenya Kwanza or you are from Azimio, but you talk issues. When you're speaking issues, fertilizer, you're not speaking because you apparently you're leaning towards any political divide. So these issues are issues that are Wanjiku based. They are not political party based. And there is nowhere we are referring to political parties. And when we came together as members of parliament, we already knew that one of our envisaged challenge would be the political party antagonism. And we are ready for that because, of course, Wanjiku who believe in me doesn't care which political party really sponsored me in parliament. Wanjiku that believe in me believe that I am a woman who feels the pain of a woman who live in Kenya, operates in Kenya, and rears her children in Kenya. And therefore it is my duty as a woman leader to actually stand in the gap, irrespective of my political party.
What is this pushback
and
that you're
I
getting?
think, Eric, you should appreciate as young people that we are trying to serve another recipe of politics. We are trying to tell people, look here, political processes are politicians' agenda. All right? But once we finish with the political processes and we get into a parliament that has a life of 5 years, within those 5 years, we should put aside the political processes and dissect issues and deal with issues that really interfere with our livelihoods. That is the kind of recipe that we are trying to serve, a new political recipe, a new paradigm change with the way we do politics.
Actually, see, even the constitution expects that of members of parliament.
Sure.
That once you get into parliament, that as a parliament, you are not going to look at things from a bipartisan, from partisan issues, but you're going to look at things from what parliament should be doing.
Sure.
Oversighting the executive, legislating for the country, right? And representing the people of Kenya in that assembly. But you clearly are talking about the experience that has been there over the last 10, 13 years now with this new system of government, where you still are feeling shackled to the executive and to the leaders of political parties, whether those leaders are in State House or in Upper Hill or wherever. But then how will you unshackle yourselves from this? Yes, we've seen you gathering, we've seen you talking, we've seen you doing all those things, but we know the individual members that you are.
I think we're already out of the shackles because we have created a platform where we can actually voice matters Wanjiku on our own. We are coming up together, we are holding pressers and actually even have a very serious backup, technical backup, people who have volunteered to actually come and give us technical support. You know, people who are telling us, we love the way you're dissecting issues. Would love to support you on this technical aspect of what you're saying. For example, last week we had a very serious sitting with the striking doctors. and we had to listen to their in-house technical issues. Those issues that don't come out to you, I mean, and they don't have time even to express them to you because they are very technical. When else should we get this kind of a forum if we don't do what we are doing? Now, for me, I understand why doctors are striking better than most of you, because I've had an opportunity to listen to the technical and the in-depth issues that are affecting doctors. And therefore, when I say that Nakumicha must be pushed to the wall, when I say Kenya Kwanza government must be made liable for what is happening right now in our hospitals, affecting members of public who cannot afford to access medical care from the private sector. I know what I'm talking about. So I think this is a very good platform for us, and I think it's a breathe out for Kenyans. Finally, there is a group of people who are speaking as it is. You know, when we came out and said, you know, there is a substandard fertilizer, Kenyans were shocked. Because this thing has been going on for a long time.
Absolutely. So now finally,
subsidized fertilizer did not just appear last week but one. No.
So now finally there is an outlet for some of these things to come to the fore. So whereby there are people who are on the receiving end, for example, of this fertilizer, and you say, okay, well, maybe it is me, and who do I go to tell that there's a problem? We are saying that there's an outlet. Okay. The question then becomes, what then will happen? Because most times when these things, we hear the Auditor General says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that are going wrong. But we say, well, you know what? Nothing is going to happen because Parliament is the place where all of these things go to die, essentially. There are people who are on one side or the other side. So the likelihood, for example, you were against the affordable housing bill in Parliament. It was a shocker to some people because they said, how could that happen? She's a member of Kenya Kwanza. So this is the thing, that people in Parliament, members of Parliament, support issues because of where their political allegiance is, which is very unfortunate, right? Or members of Parliament don't support things because of where their political allegiance lies. So what are some of the issues that we are seeing today from what you've said that actually would need some help? I have a list. But the question is, what then will be done? Because the expectation is that Wamushomba is going to support what President William Ruto will say or not say. But
I think what you should expect, now that this is a voice that is coming from elected members of Parliament, people who have a credible voice that is supported by their mandate as members of Parliament, then you expect that the issues raised are actually going to end up on the floor of the House, either as a debate, either as an amendment of a policy or amendment of a law. For example, I'm sure you heard very clearly the team, what I'm calling the ground team, say that we are going to deal with matters doctor strike in Parliament. Definitely we'll have to ask for an opportunity to debate matters doctor strike in Parliament. And that will give an opportunity to that member of Parliament who probably is not a team ground, but the matter has been brought us for debate. Will you not debate? Because the matter is in the floor of the House, whether you are Kenya Kwanza or not, you will debate. So when we debate, what do we expect? We expect some directives from the Speaker. We expect Parliament to give direction on the way forward. We expect a solution from Parliament. And most of the solutions that we deliberate on the floor of the House become effective. Most of them. I think the only place where solutions are generated instantly or within maybe the shortest time possible, it is on the floor of the House. Because definitely after a debate, the Speaker must rule. And his direction is final. Yeah. So I think the fact that the members of Parliament are now picking up these issues, for example, the issue of substandard subsidized fertilizer, the fake fertilizer, the dubious fertilizer, the issue must come to the floor of the House. We must debate and ask ourselves, who is it to blame? Last night I saw some news flashing that some officials of Kenya Bureau of Standards have been kind of interdicted or something of the sort. But I sat and wondered, so what? First of all, we didn't even get the names of those we were told that they were interdicted. How sure are we? What did they do? So the errors of commission and omission that were done and were committed must be answerable. And therefore, that is why this team is very important, because now we are able to flag out issues that Wanjiko is talking about, take them to the National Assembly, insist and fight out until we get a hearing.
No matter what?
No
Because
matter
the president
what.
said yesterday,
Yeah.
it's not even, I think, by the end of today, I'm sure there are going to be memes all over the place.
Yeah.
He said, live within your means, essentially telling the doctors that we don't have the money. So if there's a directive, if there is a word like that has come out from the president just over the last 24 hours, telling doctors, live within your means, because we don't have the money.
But he
We're
didn't
even
say.
planning that
But he didn't say parliamentarians stop debating
Now
matters doctor strike.
Now that's my question.
He did not say that.
How will that debate play out vis-a-vis what the president has said in terms of what's available?
But Parliament doesn't do what the president say.
No,
or do.
really?
Yeah. Essentially, Parliament should be independent. Essentially, Parliament should have its own calendar of events. Essentially, Parliament actually gives the direction on what and how the president should behave.
So here are the things, Mheshimiwa.
So whether he said it or not, I think Parliament has a duty to debate matters doctor strike.
Right.
Parliament has a duty to listen to the doctors. Should they present any petition to Parliament,
Right.
we have a duty to receive that petition and do what doctors are saying, because they are also voters. They have their rights, and we must respect their rights.
True.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa, I like what you're saying. I mean, this emergence of this other voice is
Yeah.
a good thing. It's a breath of fresh air in Parliament in seeing whether parliamentarians, even if it doesn't materialize this time,
Yes.
but we are heading towards the direction where Parliament starts looking at itself and saying that we must have some sort of independence in how we conduct our business in this house.
Yeah.
It'll head there, and it's a good start. Now, let's look at what you say, for example. If Team Ground raises an issue for debate in Parliament,
Yeah.
and the Speaker says, okay, so this one, what has been discussed, we need to dig deeper into what is the issue with the fake fertilizer. We need to establish for a fact
Yeah.
whether we have fake fertilizer in the market or not.
Sure.
He'll likely refer that matter to the committee responsible, Agriculture,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that goes back into the Agriculture Committee, which has not taken up the matter yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm seeing is the outcome of the noise still ends up into those channels that are established by
Yeah.
standing orders of Parliament,
Yeah.
which is where things die, or they are presumed to die. I'm sure some of your members of Team Ground are members of some of these committees.
Sure.
Some of them are members of the Health Committee.
But I want to correct
Some
you
of them
before
are
you
members
proceed.
of the Agriculture Committee. Why are they not raising those issues in those committees? Why are those committees not doing the job that they should be doing?
I want to correct you, Eric, because you are my friend, and you know me and you have worked together for a long time, so I know how you think. On this one, I think you're wrong when you say that at the committee stage, once matters are delegated to the committee, issues die. By the way, that's when issues actually come alive, because at the committee platforms or sessions, that's when we are able to actually dissect matters with a lot of in depth.
Yes.
Because you can't be able to discuss and debate and examine a matter on the floor of the House. Because you understand, we are normally given 2 minutes, 5 minutes maximum for you to debate.
Yes.
But at the committee level, that's when you are able to actually discuss issues, get into the technical aspect of the issue, and get a clear direction. So, and that is the intention of this Team Ground. Our work is to make sure that we raise pertinent issues that are affecting our voters, and make sure that we debate, and after we debate, we actually conclude that matter the right way. I think, to me, and to my understanding, and to my experience within the many years I've been in Parliament now, any matter that concerns Wanjiko, once it is presented on the floor of the House, we always get a solution. A good example.
Yeah.
Every time the Speaker rules, sometimes he rules immediately that this matter must be deliberated on and a solution given in a period of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 1 month. And the fact that the Speaker gives timelines gives us an opportunity for us to be able to score and get the solutions of the matters that we are looking for. So I don't want to agree with you that some matters die once they come to the floor of the House. Of course, there are some that just die based on how vigorant or how aggressive is the committee, because there are some committees that are very aggressive, there are committees that are a bit dormant, there are committees that don't do any investigative role within whatever they are handling.
Yeah.
So some matters will flare up but there are some matters that will just die, and not really dying, go quiet.
Yep.
But there's something happening behind the scenes.
Usually, Mheshimiwa, from my own observation over the several years of Parliament, is that matters that require national investigation, matters that are raising a question about a scandal of one way or another, will end up with a report, and that report will come to the floor of the House, and that will lead to the end of that matter. COVID billionaires is one of them. KEMSA is another one. I mean, we've seen these things happen.
Mercury,
sugar, mercury. And that's why I'm saying, even on this particular matter, fake fertilizer. So Team Ground will raise the issue. It will be discussed, right, high tempo, and then the Speaker will say, let's take this matter. In fact, let's do this.
But don't you think...
Let's create a special, select committee comprising several committees, agriculture, comprising another, and let the committee
But don't you think, Eric, Team
Matters
Ground
will come out. And then there'll be a report.
No, not necessarily. Eric, I think there are times when you need a voice to amplify an issue so that the relevant stakeholders who are supposed to action on such matters are given some impetus. For example, the issue of dubious fertilizer. The stakeholders that are supposed to take up the matter are on their toes. If we never spoke as Team Ground, if we never amplified the voice of the voiceless, the many farmers that had bought a fertilizer and quietly, saw what was happening and decided to keep quiet because, of course, they were fearing, some of them were not sure. If we never brought that matter out, I'm sure probably maybe we will not be dissecting what we are dissecting today. So I think Team Ground has a reason to just amplify voices, amplify issues, give a voice to issues that
I agree.
You agree.
It is the final solution.
Please remember that
I'm wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
And getting to the final solution, where that farmer who bought a bag of choka into their farm, it's already raining. By the time this investigation is completed, that farmer will get some level of justice. That these doctors who are not being posted, right? That Parliament will get to a point and actually realize and say, yes, we did not allocate a budget that is sufficient to send these doctors on internship. And therefore, we are demanding that the second supplementary budget that's about to come next month should have this particular matter. And that we see that as the output that says we want X amount put in the supplementary budget to send our intern doctors.
So now you're right. You're saying that even as much as we amplify issues, once those issues are brought to the floor of the House, it is the honors of the members of Parliament to come up with a solution. For me, I'm expecting that tomorrow we may not even be able to start off parliamentary business before we sort out issues of doctor strike. I mean, if there are sober members of Parliament in this country who represent people who are going through agony in our public health sector, then we must stop every other business and make sure that we debate matters, doctor strike, and come up with a solution. If there is no sufficient budget, it is time for us to allocate monies, isn't it? So that is why we are making noise, so that this issue is not wished away. Because there are people who have the tendency of, just wishing away matters because it is Wamushamba who is raising the matter, or it is because it is those doctors who have no voice and have no access to the powers that may be. So that is why we are actually picking up these voices and amplifying the voices, because our work is to actually represent, and that is one of our role of a member of Parliament, to represent, to take over the mumbles of the mamas of the community, and amplify if there are issues that really affect their livelihoods. And I can't sit here, Eric and my sister, I can't sit here and just assume that life is normal. It can't be normal when our mothers are delivering in hospitals and are losing their babies. It cannot be business as usual.
It's not.
When you read stories like the one I read about the Nakuru girl who abandoned her infant because she could not be able to pay her own maternity bill of 23,000. It cannot be business as usual when you're scrapping away Linda Mama. A package that really was a solution to our, maternity health care in this country. So that is why Team Ground is there, so that we can now amplify our voices on behalf of that section of the society that is really struggling.
Very good.
Yeah.
Time for that break, 26 minutes to 8. The Honorable Gadon Musha, Member of Parliament for Githunguri constituency, a member of the Team Ground. Team Ground, if you're hearing it for the first time, is this caucus of members of Parliament from across the political divide. Some are in Kenya Kwanza, others are in Azimio, others are independent. Which other coalition is in Parliament?
We have two coalitions, but we also have some small fragmented parties that are not in either of the coalitions.
Even those ones, some of them are in this. How many are you in total?
About 17.
17
Yep.
members of Team
And we
Ground.
have 3 senators.
And recruiting.
Oh yeah, they are coming every day.
Very good.
They are joining in.
We'll continue this conversation shortly. Good morning.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Cloudy morning in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 16. 16 will also be the low in a cloudy Nakuru, going to highs of 25. And we'll see lows of 15 with highs of 26 in a cloudy Nyeri. Partly cloudy at 14 in Eldoret with highs of 24 and lows of 14. And looking into a sunny Mombasa at 27. It's sunny as well at 29 in Malindi. Cloudy conditions at 21 in Kisumu, going to highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 26 in a mostly cloudy Kakamega at 20. Out into a cloudy Kampala at 20, we'll see highs of 26, while Dar es Salaam will go to highs of 29 and lows of 25. We're looking at 7 degrees and cloudy in Johannesburg, with temperatures dropping, highs of 16, and in Mogadishu 29 and cloudy, 14 and mostly sunny in Addis Ababa with highs of 24. Light rain showers continue in Lagos at 28 and highs of 33, and it's 24 and cloudy in Kinshasa with highs of 28 and lows of 23.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Unright. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Heavy traffic on Landis Road this morning leading out towards Kamkunji and onto Haile Selassie this morning. Very, very busy. And yes, that Murang'a Road traffic continues as you're coming in heavy from the Thika Superhighway all the way through to the CBD this morning. Murang'a Road not letting up. And we're actually now seeing traffic, folks trying to find their way off of Murang'a Road, going back onto Wangari Maathai, and then trying to come back into the city. But you can't do that because you'll just then all go back towards Boulevard, except for those folks who've realized that you can get onto Chiromo, go round through James Gishuru, and then come out through Hurlingham and then onto Haile Selassie. It sounds like a long, long trip, but it's much better than being in the middle of this, right? So this road that we're looking at now, Wangari Maathai, trying to get you towards Uhuru Highway, very, very busy traffic. Kipande Road also just as busy, if not busier. All right, let's keep an eye on this. I know it's a painful morning for those who are in this area. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Love SpiceFM because of one, the music.
The playlist is good.
Spice.
You played the best music.
More of the classics and the hits you love. We are Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Our conversation continues with your Yes, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's terrible this morning, and we're looking at probably a worse off situation than what we looked at last week because, you know, the rains are coming down, right? So that slows things down considerably. And so that's Murang'a Road that you're looking at, rather on this area. That's Murang'a Road, trying to get towards Globe Cinema.
That's
All right.
Kipande Road.
That's Kipande Road, and all of this is coming in from Boulevard. So you're stopped here when you're coming off of Chiromo. You can't get onto Uhuru Highway. You go through Boulevard, and everybody now trying to find their way into the city very, very slowly. It's not working. It's likely to get worse. And they told us it would be done by now. It was supposed to be 8 days. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon.
It's all crazy. And this is just because there's some ongoing construction works on Uhuru Highway, crossing over from the University of Nairobi's hostels onto the main campus. The Kenya National Highways Authority has contracted somebody to put an underpass for students.
Something, a
right?
fancy culvert or something.
And because of that, they've blocked off Uhuru Highway. So when you get to the boulevard, you're pushed into the Boulevard Hotel, go into that road that passes out to KBC and on to Central Police Station, or it's just makaratasi. Something else that was happening on Mombasa Road, down Mombasa Road after Machakos Junction, as you head towards Mombasa, So the Kenya National Highways Authority, again, has decided to give a contract for repairs of a section of a road there, about 100 meters or so of a road. And so the contractor has therefore just diverted traffic onto some mud trucks. Get off the road and find your way somewhere for the next 100 meters and then come back onto the road. The problem is that the traffic we're talking about is heavy traffic. Trucks coming from Mombasa, heavy. Vehicles coming from Mombasa, heavy. Vehicles heading towards Mombasa, heavy. All of them crammed into this one space, which is not smooth, motorable area. The traffic yesterday was stretching all the way to Salama, coming towards Nairobi. Yeah. And this diversion is just at Kapiti Plains before you get to Konza.
400. And sadly, Eric, I lost a friend of mine in that traffic. When he was struggling, he suffered a stroke. He was put on an ambulance, and getting to that diversion near Boulevard,
couldn't move.
They couldn't move. They tried asking for way. They tried everything. There was no traffic man anywhere to allow, to make way for them. And we lost that life there for about 45 minutes stuck in that traffic.
The ambulance was stuck at...
Yes, the ambulance was stuck.
At Museum Hill interchange.
Yeah. Unfortunately. I felt very, very, very touched.
That is the end result of the problems that we are talking about.
Yes, we have created bottleneck for ourselves everywhere. Every time we are trying, the government is trying to provide us a solution, we create ourselves a bottleneck over the same problem. When I saw my president last night says that we have to try to live within our means. And I wondered, is Mr. President telling us that those of us who cannot afford to access Nairobi hospital for medication, we try and adjust and just live with our problems?
Exactly.
Is Mr. President telling us that those of us who cannot be able to get to a nice maternity facility, a private operated maternity facility, then we continue getting our babies as women on the floor of public hospitals? Is Mr. President trying to tell us that those children who did not get to Form 1, because the Form 1 transition this year has been the lowest at 90.046%, weighed up down from 99%, almost 100% last year. Is Mr. President trying to tell us that now we continue languishing in agony and pain just because there's no money? What is our priority? Is it affordable housing or is it our medication? Is it our dying cancer patients or is it affordable housing? That is why I had to wake up at 4 a.m. I live in Kiambu County. I had to struggle with that traffic to come here and let the nation hear me. That our priorities are wrong and we must go back to the drawing board. Last week, when we were doing the presser with the ground team, I said it and I'll repeat. The many Haas vehicles I am registering on Thika Road every morning, especially from tomorrow, because people in Mount Kenya region bury their loved ones on Tuesdays and Fridays. If you go to Thika Road tomorrow morning, near KU Mortuary, the morgue, near KU Hospital Mortuary, the morgue, near Okoh Hospital, the morgue, you will be shocked the many vehicles that are now increasingly appearing to collect their loved ones. The scenarios that are happening right now at our morgues or around our morgues are the scenarios and the scenes that we witnessed during COVID. It cannot be business as usual. And it will not be business as usual. And we are not going to sit as members of parliament, those of us that have conscience, to see those kind of scenes come back. It will haunt us today and for future, it will. We must call a spade, Eric. President's advisors who are telling him that the economy cannot support and cannot absorb the needs of our doctors are wrong. And telling the president that doctors and Kenyans have to start adjusting to live within our means. It is not within our means to construct affordable houses when we cannot afford to take our loved ones to Form 1. And for your information, Kenya Kwanza government has failed to provide the right to basic education to our Form 1 students who graduated from Class 8 last year. When Kenya Kwanza government came in, we were enjoying 100% transitions from Class 8 to Form 1. As we speak, 854,000 children did not report for Form 1. I heard the CS of Health saying we are politicizing matters doctors strike. Let's put doctors aside. Are we politicizing the schools?
Why are these children not in school?
Where are these children? Why are they not in school? It is because the government has failed to make sure that they are bound with the policy that Kenya Kwanza found in place.
Why?
These 851 candidates are either now grazing animals, working as housemaids, or loitering in the street.
Because we said that there's something that must be paid for them to be able to attend school, and that's something they cannot afford.
Exactly.
Are we talking about affordability now?
Yes.
Of these school fees that you're required to pay? Because there is a little bit of something that you must bring.
Number two, forget about even the money that the parents are supposed to pay as the children get to Form 1. Let's talk about capitation. As we speak, the Kenya Kwanza government has failed. And you know, when I speak like this, people say, oh, she's part of Kenya Kwanza government and she's now talking against the Kenya Kwanza government. I'm not talking about against the Kenya Kwanza government. I'm talking about the people who made that Kenya Kwanza government are the people who are suffering.
Where are we on capitation?
The whole of 2023, the government of Kenya did not submit the 100% money for capitation. And I'll break for you down. Can I?
Yes, please.
First term 2023, schools were supposed to get each child 11,122 per child. The government, through the circular that was dated on 26 January 2023 by PS Belio Kipsang, the government released 3,706. Can you do your maths? They were supposed to release 11,122. They released only 3,706. What was the balance?
About 7,400.
And the government also retained 707 shillings per child, money that was supposed to be for NHIF, what we call Edu Afya.
Yes.
So the deficit for first term 2023 was 6,709. Second term, the government was supposed to release 6,673. Through a circular that was dated 14th June 2023 by Belio Kipsang, the PS, the government released 3,381 and retained 768 shillings per child for Edu Afya. Deficit for second term was 2,524. Third term 2023, the government was supposed to release 4,449 shillings per child. Through a circular dated 25th September 2023 by Belio Kipsang, the PS, the government released only 2,512 and retained 815 shillings for Edu Afya per child. Deficit for third term was 1,122 per child. So the total deficit for the year 2023 that Kenya Kwanza did not remit, it is 10,355
Per child.
per child. So the total amount of money that Kenya Kwanza is expected to have released was 82 billion 888,723,744 shillings. What they received was 43,874,000,000. So where is 38,213,843,480 shillings? This money was in the budget.
So where
did this money go? That is why Team Ground is coming together
So
to ask these critical questions.
very good.
So as we speak, the children who have not been able to access to Form 1, the ones I'm talking about, 138,000 children, cannot even be accommodated on credit in schools because already these schools are debt-ridden.
And that was money for last year. Can I just...
So as we speak right now, that is now last year.
That's last year.
We already have deficit of how much?
38 billion.
38 billion, 213 million, 843,480 shillings. Now, let's come to 2024. We are talking about 4.2 million children under the Ministry of Education. Term 1, 2023. The schools were supposed to get 11,122 per child. Circular dated 17th January 2024 by Berio Kisang released 7,754 per child. The government retained 565 shillings for Eduafia.
But Eduafia now is dead.
Completely. Deficit for Form 1. Each child is owed by the government.
Term 1.
Term 1, 2,803. Therefore, the money for first term this year has gone to fill the deficit of last year. So as we speak right now, the capitation money that was sent to schools last week but one is not for second term. It's supposed to be taking care of the debts.
For third term,
Previous
second
debts.
term. And
But Berio Kesang was very, very smart. He indicated in that circular that that money must only be used during second term, which is now coming next month. That is to mean he doesn't want teachers to use that money to pay debts.
Pay previous debts.
So if any head teacher had admitted a child who had no capacity to pay Form 1, what will happen to that child? Those children will go back home. So
Now,
as I speak about 138,000 who did not join Form 1, I'm expecting another 500,000 children who are going to be sent out of school because there is no capitation money. Schools are in debts and they are carrying burdens. They will chase away these children back.
Mheshimiwa, budget is done by Parliament.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So all the appropriation comes from Parliament. Oversighting and making sure that the money that's supposed to go to all these functions is done by Parliament. Are you telling me that these things happened while Parliament was watching and we only want to blame political patronage?
Yes.
So the reason why money was budgeted by Parliament and expenditure approved by Parliament, and then the money did not end up going to the schools as was supposed to have happened, was because of political patronage.
I can tell you here, and I will not blink, Parliament has failed Kenyans. Because from 2023 to date, I have read for you and explained to you the perpetual debt push over. Every time we are pushing debt over.
Yep.
And Parliament seems to be very quiet. People are not speaking. And when some of us speak, we are branded. So I decided I would rather be branded, but do what my conscience tells me to do. And I'll no longer carry that overcoat of, oh, I come from this area of political alienation, so I can't speak on this. Because if I don't speak on this, I'm spoiling a child's life, future, livelihoods. We are demolishing people's future. We are crumbling down what our forefathers built through sweat and blood for a long time.
Mheshimiwa, I think we really do
We
have
are
to
retrogressing.
We really must insist and ask the questions in terms of where this money has gone. We speak of 38 billion shillings from last year, but we're also talking about 54 billion shillings from years before, right?
Yeah.
And now here we are in 2024, and I know that on one side, the ministry will say no school should send any child home.
Definitely.
That's nice, you can say that. But I'm telling you for a fact, schools are sending children home. Second term is about to start next year, next month.
Yeah.
Children who have not paid fees will not be allowed in
But
school.
what do you expect the head teachers
And
to
head
do?
teachers are saying, we don't have a choice. We cannot fund the lives of these children in school because we have not received the money.
So when I
So the questions that are being asked, I think now need to be pushed a little bit harder. Because, you've asked the question. Where did 38 billion shillings go? Nobody's answering, Mheshimiwa.
And you know, every time Belio Kisang, the PS in charge of basic education, come to Parliament and these questions are asked, they keep saying, you know, we are releasing money next week.
Yeah.
Next week has actually become as the song. Every minister coming to Parliament to answer questions, they say, next week we are releasing CDF money. Next week we are releasing capitation money. Next week we are sorting out doctors. Next week. I think I have the confidence to speak this morning and say, Kenya Kwanza government is sabotaging itself. Kenya Kwanza government is sabotaging itself, and this time around, nobody should wake up and say, oh, it is Uhuru Kenyatta, oh, it is Raila Odinga, oh, now you're all speaking the same language, all of you. So nobody should come and say, oh, the cartels are being sent by Uhuru Kenyatta, by Raila Odinga, we are sabotaging ourselves. We are sabotaging ourselves medically. Nothing is happening in our public hospitals, and you know that. We are sabotaging ourselves education-wise. You can hear the kind of mess that is in our education sector. We are sabotaging ourselves agriculturally. You can see what's happening with subsidized fake fertilizer, fake seeds. Yesterday I was watching a clip of, fake maize seeds from Nakuru. We are sabotaging ourselves. And this is the time to take the problem and own it. The president, the ministers, Parliament, and anybody else who is in the leadership position, it is time for us to accept there is a problem.
Yep.
Let us go back to the drawing board. Let us have national dialogue, not about leaders, but about issues affecting Wajiko.
But Tony, do you think we are broke?
Definitely, yes. This is a sign.
So,
what else? How else do you define
brokenness? When you don't have money to fit your basics. So here we are. You even have come with a copy of this year's budget policy statement.
I have the budget policy,
which has been looked at by the Committee of Budget and Appropriation. The report has been presented in Parliament. That report was saying, you know what, looking at the collections in the last financial year, you do not even hit your target, and yet you are raising the target for collection in the next financial year by another whopping several hundreds of billions of shillings. And the budget is rising again. Is this responsible of Parliament to approve a continuously rising budget against dwindling targets being met on revenues?
Actually, if you ask me...
Aren't you just allowing the government to continue failing?
Actually, if you asked me, there is no difference between this BPS for 2024 and the one that I opposed 2023. There is no difference, because this is talking about deficit of 877 billion. Money we do not have, but we are budgeting it. So we will see another signature session. President Ruto accepting loans again. If we pass this BPS as a budget for this year, President Ruto has to ask for another loan. So for me, I'm saying let us suspend this. This year's budget must be suspended until we review and make sure we are not passing deficits. We cannot be living large on borrowed money. Let us suspend all those other expenditures that border along our livelihoods, our basic livelihoods requirement. For example, for heaven's sake, why do we have to build new houses when people are dying in hospitals? What is our priority? Can't we take that money that we are using to construct affordable houses? We first of all deal with our medical issues. When people are healthy, they actually even can sleep outside and they will not even be sick. I mean, when you're healthy, you can sleep anywhere. When you are full, when you have eaten and you are full, you can sleep anywhere. So to me, I think it's time for us to create the right political noise around this budget proposal. This proposal is a shortcut
to debt.
And it is unfortunate, Eric, that as we speak right now, this is a country that is preparing to hand over an inheritance to the generations of this country, not to share what we call generational wealth, but to share generational debts. The debts that we carry on our shoulders, this country, will only be paid in the next 29 years. 26 to 29 years. So if we add any other debt, we are done. So for me, my recommendation would be, let us suspend this BPS. Let us not debate BPS matters in Parliament until we sort our population in matters health. It is critical, it is important. It is not about living within our means, it is a necessity. And according to this constitution, which I always carry, the right to health has no alternative. And your right begins where mine ends.
Mheshimiwa, thank you very much for joining us. Gadon Musha, Member of Parliament, Githunguri constituency, part of the newly formed caucus in Parliament calling itself Team Ground, of several members of Parliament from across the political divide who are saying, let's raise the voices, let Parliament now do the job it should be doing. It's 8 a.m. Good morning.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah has called on striking doctors to consider dialogue as a way to end the strike which has persisted for over 3 weeks now. Ichung'wah spoke at Nyeri while he represented President William Ruto and his deputy Ednah Harambe, where he said the prolonged strike means suffering for common wananchi. He urged doctors to understand the country's economy is not yet stable enough to meet their demands fully.
With tremendous respect to all our health professionals, because they know the efforts government is making through the Social Health Insurance Fund and UHC, our Universal Health Coverage Program, to improve health coverage in the country and to improve the provision of health services that are affordable to our people. To please call off their strike ili waweze kurudi hospitali kutibu wagonjwa wetu. Any life that we lose during this time of the strike will never come back.
His sentiments were echoed by Nyeri Town MP Duncan Madenge, who said the suffering by Kenyans, especially in the villages, is immense. He called on the doctors to consider talks.
And the doctor strike, we all accept they have legitimate grievances. However, on the other hand, the country is also going through some legitimate financial challenges. As government and also as medical service providers, we agree to find a middle ground. That is the only thing that will work for us. Ordinary Kenyans who are caught in the middle as we engage each other, as we antagonize each other, they are suffering.
President William Ruto waded into discussions around the doctor's strike earlier, saying the demands by the healthcare workers are not feasible as the country is already grappling with a huge wage bill.
We mind about them. We value the service they give to our nation. We must live within our means. The resources we have are only sufficient to pay 70,000 shillings for intern doctors. It is not a salary. It is a stipend for only 1 year, and then they will be employed. I know we have a situation in Kenya with our doctors and interns. I want to implore on them that it is important for us as a nation to agree that we must live within our means. We must live within our means, fellow countrymen and women.
KMPD in the manual has said that the strike is still on. Now, President William Ruto is today expected to commission a 45 billion shilling cement factory in Sabit area, West Pokot County. The construction of the factory was launched by former Prime Minister Raila Odinga in 2010, although its construction took a long time before completion. According to the general manager of the factory, Narendra Raval, the factory is expected to employ more than 2,500 workers. Narendra has also thanked the residents of the area for cooperating with him in the construction of the factory.
Sisi kushaweka billions of shillings kwa hiyo investment, sababu iko na confidence na government ya Kenya, iko na confidence ya governor ya county West Pokot, and sisi iko na roho pande ya watu ya West Pokot, sababu hawa kushapatia mimi kila kitu ile nilikuwa nataka saidizi kutoka hawa.
On their part, Kapenguria Member of Parliament Samuel Morotwe and Women Representative Rael Kasiwai have supported the completion of the factory, calling upon the management of the factory to prioritize locals during recruitment.
Watu wengi wakuja na waboost badala ya kununua vitu kule nje, wakuja wanunue hapa hivi. Na hii ndio tainua area. Nashukuru pia Mheshimiwa Rais kwa sababu ameweka nguvu sana ili hapa ichengwe.
Kitu ningeomba huyu muhindi ni kwamba wale wote wanaajiriwa hapa katika hii cement factory wakuwe watu wa hapa Sebit ama locals, kwa sababu any project ambayo inakuja eneo yeyote ile inafaa ifaidi wale watu wa hapo.
And the death toll from an attack in a village in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, Ituri province, rose to 25, according to a local chief and civil society leader, after a government spokesperson and a UN document confirmed the attack. The Cooperative for the Development of Congo Group, one of many militias operating in the conflict region east, carried out the killings in the village of Galai, 70 kilometers northwest of the city of Bunia. 15 bodies were recovered, in addition to 10 bodies recovered Saturday. An internal UN document and Jules Ngongo, spokesperson of the governor of Ituri province, confirmed the attack and the initial death toll of 10 civilians. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
There's heavy traffic on the Thika Superhighway. It's coming in hot to the city and very heavy now on Wangari Maathai. No way through here. As you're coming off of the Thika Superhighway, getting onto Muranga Road on one side and getting onto Wangari Maathai on the other side, it's going to find its way through towards Chiromo. And then everybody's going to go back through towards Boulevard. Folks who are trying to get into the city, that continues to be a total mess. And you'll find the weirdest traffic in the weirdest places today because folks are looking for outlets through and through. Langata Road is also busy, joining on Uhuru Highway. Uhuru Highway into the CBD, very, very busy this morning. And let's take a look right now then at Likoni Road. There's also traffic coming in through, trying to find its way towards the southern bypass at that interchange. All right, guys, it's a mess. We're in traffic hour proper. Let's take a look what happens in a short while. We'll talk on Spice FM, KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Na hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
Welcome to the
This is The Situation Room, the only...
Here every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., raising several matters on governance, on society, things that matter to all of us as Kenyans. So the next conversation is going to be about behavior and the behavior of all of us as Kenyans. We have invited Dr. Ruth Laipon Masha. She is the CEO of the National Syndemic Diseases Control Council, to come because a couple of weeks ago we saw this, just last week, we saw this conversation emanating after Naivasha, Safari Rally, things happened, and then we saw, what was the behavior of people who attended the rally. What was it? News coming in that, people were being offered free condoms. Some of them would take, but not use. Others would take and use, but, all those matters. Daktari, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room. It's good to have you here. I think we've looked for you a number of times. Finally, you're here. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Karibu sana. You'll tell us what the Syndemic Diseases Control Council is all about. We know the National AIDS Control Council. That's what we knew you to head. Now it's Syndemic Diseases. You'll tell us all about that. But to welcome you to the conversation, on behalf of our colleague Siti Muga, who's not in today, we have the day's proverb. Every week, Siti goes to one African country. He mines proverbs from that country through his research. And then he brings us a proverb per day from that country. The job that we give our guests as a welcoming job, kikombe ya chai, is to listen to the proverb and then you give us your interpretation of that proverb. This week, the proverbs are from the Kingdom of Morocco. And today's proverb is, what is in the head of the camel is not what is in the head of the camel driver. What's in the head of the camel is not what's in the head of the camel driver. You get it?
Yep.
Get it? What's your interpretation of it?
Okay, so maybe I would think that the camel driver knows where they're going because they're the ones who plan the route and they know the place they are heading to. And the camel brain, probably the function is about its own sustenance. It's about what is in my space. What do I eat? What water do I drink? Is there going to be a rest period? And therefore, it's not necessarily that the camel brain and the camel driver are going the same direction, unless the same are tuned into taking care of each other's needs. That is how I would interpret that.
What do you think the Moroccans are telling us with this proverb?
I think the message here is about leadership and about leadership and visioning leadership with the people we are leading. Because if we come up with, for example, policies or strategies that don't resonate with the needs of the people, we may know where we wanted these policies to go, or, for example, the strategies or the intervention to go. But as long as the people who we are leading are left behind, either in terms of knowledge or understanding the destination, then you have a discordancy in where you want to go together. And so you have to bridge the gaps. And in our case, I would have interpreted it as leadership, knowledge, citizens, agencies, and that gives them the whole scenario of bringing people together for unity of purpose.
As a leader, you must not assume that people know exactly where you're trying to take them.
Yes.
You must communicate this very clearly to them.
Exactly.
Very good. I'm sure it will play a role somewhere in our conversation this morning. I am very sure of it. But first of all, the National AIDS Control Council, National Syndemic Diseases Control Council. What is syndemic and what is this control council?
Thank you very much. So I know we know a lot of terminologies about diseases. So an epidemic is a disease that occurs in a population, but is outside the control of that population. It's larger than what would have occurred normally. We have an endemic, which is a situation where the disease is localized. For example, malaria is endemic in parts of Kenya, in parts of Africa. HIV is an epidemic. It used to be a pandemic. Pandemic, we all know pandemic because of COVID-19. Now, what is a syndemic? A syndemic is a disease that interacts with other diseases or epidemics, but also it interacts with our own social and economic development, like poverty, like behavior such as maybe what is in HIV, injecting drug practices, alcoholism, and therefore it's called syndemic because it's seen. Epidemics are playing into each other. So, for example, Kenya is a country called HIV-TB country. Because of HIV, we have a large proportion of people who get both HIV and TB. TB and HIV are associated because if you have HIV, you are susceptible to have TB. That is why we also say we screen everyone who has HIV so that you can make sure that they also don't die of TB. TB is a killer of most people living with HIV. So those two are syndemic. Sexually transmitted infections. When we started the response, the first thing, if you recall, some of us, is it was started in the platform of treating sexually transmitted infections. And I don't know if you remember the story of the Majengo women, the sex workers in Majengo.
Yep.
And those clinics had been set up for sexually transmitted infections. And why is sexually transmitted infections connected with HIV? Is because some of those infections, like an infection called chancroid, they bring out some scarring or sores within the genital areas. And that make one person who is living with HIV, if they have a person who is negative and they have sex, it makes it easier for them to pass the virus. We also have something like genital herpes. Now, genital herpes, when you have genital herpes, which is a very common STI, your immune system is drawn to where mostly you get lesions within your genitalia. So the immune system goes to defend from the herpes. But HIV also targets that same immune system. So it's easy for it to cause the infection. So we say they are syndemic. They help each other. So if you have an STI, it's the easiest route also to get HIV when you're exposed to the virus. Then again, we look at what is going on, poverty and violence. I'm sure when you look at some of the cases we are seeing of sexual violence, it is not for children of the rich. We recently saw a 13-year-old girl that had been defiled in Nyamira County. When you listen to those stories, it is stories of people with no agency, meaning that even the defiler is targeting that maybe these people don't even have money, or they would not even take me anywhere. So it is going towards traveling the same path of inequality, which is poverty, which is lack of agency, where there's low literacies in terms of parents, where the society is also not well informed. Maybe they fear going to a police station, for example. And you find that as we move forward with these diseases such as HIV, we are beginning to see them traveling to the people who have unequal access to power, who are not wealthy, and also who lack access to some of the services. An example is, adolescent pregnancies. Who is a typical girl getting pregnant? Is it that the poor girl that we see pregnant is different from the one we have in the urban area? No. The one in the urban area has Google. She will wake up in the morning, she goes and buy emergency contraception. The one in the rural area or in a urban poor may not even have that money to buy that emergency contraception. So what we see in her is a pregnancy. Both of them had unprotected sexual intercourse. But one becomes pregnant because she never had access to services, or she never had the money to access a service the other one accessed.
Or the information.
Because she didn't even have the Google, she didn't have the bundles. So what we see then is a divide that is actually following the inequality pathways. And as a society, who is this having then the power to stop this whole cycle we find ourselves in? And that's the first question you have to ask. Where does the power come from?
Where does the power come from? So previously we've been told that, of course, there rests huge amounts of power in the passing of information back and forth. But if we're just going to link with how, Eric talked about this in the very beginning, is that this conversation is born out of certain things that we've seen over the last week and certain things that we've seen out of the last couple of months, whereby we have seen, or we've been told from the information that has come from sectors, where your institution is established, organization is established, that we have seen a re-emergence or resurgence of HIV infections amongst young people who interestingly do have this information. So my question is, what has happened, or how has the character of infection of HIV then changed? If previously one of the things that we were told was that in order to curb infections of HIV, condom use then is highly effective. But we see people are now shunning the condom. Young girls more worried about getting pregnant than they are about getting infected. Young people who will shun the use of a condom because they've heard of something called PEP. So, are we still seeing that those who lack information are the ones who are more susceptible to infection? Are we still seeing that?
I think that goes back to the problem we started with. Yeah. It's about the camel driver and the camel brain. So there is information and there is correct information. In fact, in this country, the gap in the correct information among young people is very wide. Even just that condom use alone, it is as low as 54% of young people between 15 to 24 who actually can correctly tell you about condom use. Now, there's a generation, which is our generation, that actually, for those who never got HIV, what saved us was the uptake of condom use among that generation. Now, we have this new generation, and we have increased our options for prevention, rightfully. The challenge is that all these things, during one generation, you were told about HIV, but you also told about sexually transmitted infection. You are told that if you get chlamydia, you're going to be infertile. You are told that if you get genital herpes and the viral hepatitis that we get, you're going to have some consequences. Syphilis was known. Gonorrhea was feared. Now we have this generation that has come in now. I'm told they have come from Generation Z. Now they are calling themselves Alpha Generation. That all these things, they are only seeing them and learning them quickly from the internet. So what is the challenge? The challenge is that it is misguided information. The story of saying that ARV-based prevention is better than the use of condoms, of course, comes out from this whole euphoria that having condomless sex is the best way to go. But I think what is important is for us to provide the right information. First of all, we do not have any ARV-based prevention that is not prescribed. So the self-prescription of ARV-based prevention is actually wrong.
There's nothing over the counter.
Ideally, because what they are doing is that you're supposed, first of all, for an ARV-based prevention, you're supposed to be negative. And that means you need to have tested. So if, for example, you're borrowing your ARV-based prevention from a friend and you're not even having the right dose, there are two things that could happen. If you're HIV positive, by chance, and you're already taking these drugs, you create something you call resistance. And what happens is that then by the time we catch up with you, you probably cannot even be given the normal ARV-based for everybody else.
Dr. Sorry, I'm going to need you to clarify a number of things. So we are saying, first of all, in order for you to have any kind of ARV prevention treatment, which is now what we're calling PEP,
yes,
post-exposure prophylaxis, that you must be tested negative.
Yes.
But we do know that there are some folks who are out here getting this PEP from wherever they are getting it, and that they're not necessarily going to be tested. They've not been tested. They're going, they're getting it, they're doing whatever it is that they're doing with it, and they're going. What you're saying is that this, in its entirety, is wrong.
Completely. It's completely unethical, even for anyone to start sharing those ARVs, for not taking the ARVs in the right doses. And I must say that I think for young people, they need to understand these ARVs they see, they're not for free. We actually spend about 12 billion every year to purchase ARVs with a 6-month buffer. So if you're spending that money, it is not something we want to spend and misuse. So when we say post-exposure prophylaxis, it's an emergency. You have actually found yourself in a situation, you are using a condom, it has broken because maybe you didn't use it properly. You have been sexually assaulted. You're in a hospital, you're a medic, you have pricked yourself and you need to cover yourself for the infection. Or even you're in a relationship or one night stand and you wake up in the morning and say, I have a challenge. And that is why we say this drug is only effective, and every hour counts within the 72 hours. So if you start thinking about taking the drug every now and then, like what we are hearing young people saying, you actually have become, you are abusing the drug. Why? We should then have moved you to another drug called pre-exposure prophylaxis. Now, pre-exposure prophylaxis, we give it to people who have at high risk, or they know they're at risk of getting HIV. And it's a prescription drug also. So again, you can't go and start borrowing your friend the pre-exposure prophylaxis. But then this whole idea that the ARVs can be misused by this young generation is wrong. Let me just say something, that ARV is a good intervention, especially for people living with HIV. And we must thank them in this country, because I think those who have known HIV status have played a significant role in most of the infections prevented today. In fact, we were discussing the other day and saying their contribution in becoming viral suppressed, taking their drugs every day because they know their status, has also contributed to what we say U equals U, undetectable equals untransmissible. They are not transmitting HIV, and that is what is cushioning us. Now, where the challenge is these people who then are not diagnosed, then they are also misusing the same drugs, and they don't even know the implications. When we start putting people on ARVs, we ask them to come back to the facility. Why? Because we need to check other things, kidneys. We need to check their liver functions. So it's not a drug you can just decide, like, let me take it multiple times and I'm not even coming into contact with the health facility. So in essence, the ARV-based prevention is a facility-based. You have to speak to your provider. You have to come and sit down and speak. So this whole internet prescription is totally wrong. And it is actually does not work. The only thing that they think it works is probably because the person they had sex with was negative.
Yeah.
And they imagine it worked. But if indeed they have less dosage or missing the drug, because one of the things that I'm told and I've heard them say is even sharing. Take a container, I give you a few pills, you know.
I want you to tell us more about that, okay? So what is it that you've heard about this behavior by mostly young people and others who are not young? What have you heard? What is it what are they doing? What are people doing?
So, of course, one of the challenges that I had, and I've had the young people saying, is that you have sex, unprotected sex, then you come for emergency. So you have the emergency contraception because you're fearing pregnancy, and then you come into the emergency, the post-exposure prophylaxis.
Where?
Now,
a pharmacy?
That is why I think it's you to tell us, because I don't even know where they're getting these drugs from. And when I hear they're getting such drugs, it's important for us to know, because when I hear they're sharing, and then my understanding is that one of them gets the drugs, then takes a short dose and then gives the rest to the other, because maybe the bottle has 30 tablets, so they're not even taking the correct dosage. If, for example, you're taking a post-exposure prophylaxis drug and you're not taking the entire dosage.
What is an entire dose?
30 days.
30 days of daily?
Yes.
So once you get this dosage, you are supposed to take it continuously for 30 days?
Yes, till almost 28 days. So if you're not taking the drugs and you're taking them for 4 days, then you leave some of them, then you give to your friend.
To share.
Then you give your friend what you're actually doing. You're misusing the drug. That is really worrying for us. And this cannot be acceptable.
So this is what is happening.
That is how, when I hear them explaining, that is what they are doing. It's not that they are going to, the drugs are controlled. One of you gets it rightfully, and then doesn't complete, keeps the dose. When they hear from their friend that, oh, I think I'm at risk, then you take the same drugs and pass them over to your friend.
This is really scary, is it not?
It is.
It's almost as though it's being likened to emergency contraception.
Exactly.
Because that's what emergency contraception is, essentially. You take it and then, 24 hours, you take the first one, 24 hours, you take the next one, within the 72-hour period after, unprotected sex.
Yes.
So it seems as though folks are downloading that same concept and saying, here we have this thing for 28, 30 days. I'm going to pop a few. It should work, right? All right, bottoms up, let's go. If somebody else comes, you say, I have a few left. I can give you to sort out yourself, without having downloaded the full information of what this thing is actually meant to do. So you said 30 days. What does that ensure? That if truly there was exposure to infection by the virus, that the 30 days of taking this, because that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's you're taking medication every day for 30 days. That it is covering you for the length of time that the infection essentially could take root.
Exactly.
In your system.
Exactly.
So if you take it for 4 days, or you take it for 2 days, or you take one dose, you might as well have drank a cup of water.
Exactly, because it's not going to be effective. The dosage is created that is so that it's consistent. Remember, it is about breaking the interruption of the virus from attaching itself. So that interruption, so that cell then that can die. So that interruption must happen within those 20 to 30 days. So if you come in and take them for 4 days, you have done almost nothing. So you can't even keep transferring these drugs to your friend and other friends. And then there's also a confusion about pre-exposure prophylaxis and post-exposure. Pre-exposure.
What is the difference even in terms of the medicine itself?
There's a difference because one is a single dose, the other one is a combination of 2 drugs.
Okay.
So we give them different. The dosage is different. So you cannot come and even decide how I'm taking them.
You can't take PEP before sex.
No,
and expect
because it's post.
It's post. It's an emergency drug.
Right.
Now, the pre-exposure is a program you're running. We know that there are some people who are at risk, even in marriage, for example, or people who have partners that they know my partner is at high risk and sometimes have no power to negotiate for condom use. And we encourage them, stay on a pre-exposure prophylaxis. We also encourage people in a discordancy relationship where your partner is HIV positive and you're negative. So we make sure the one who is negative is on pre-exposure prophylaxis, but we also encourage condom use. I must say, none of these drugs, if you come to the facility, none of these drugs is given without information about condom use. So condom will still remain as the only single tool that we currently have that can protect you against 3 things: HIV, sexually transmitted diseases, and mistimed pregnancy. We don't have anything else. So that is why we say PEP, condom. In fact, I think for me, we need to start having the conversation of sexually transmitted infections. Even when we talk about human papillomavirus, we have shied away from giving out information, but that is very essential. Our parents are dying of cervical cancer because there was no vaccination during their period. We have a vaccine that is almost 99% effective, but that vaccine must be given to girls before starting to have sex, and that is why we are targeting the younger ones. Now, what are we trying to say? We are saying that by the time you have your first sex, it is unprotected. Most of the population usually get exposed, especially to an STI that include human papillomavirus. Now, what does it do? The earlier you have sex in your life, like if the sex is early, like what we are seeing now, age-wise. By the time you're about 25, 26, we start beginning to see a percentage of these cells converting. And that is where then you end up with cervical cancers. So these STIs are linked to so many things that young people don't understand. It's not just you wake up. You know, one thing I always say, chlamydia, for example, it will, with time, untreated, what does it lead to? Block the tubes.
Infertility.
Infertility is expensive because now the desire to have a child, and there is a scarring on the tubes, and it makes it difficult for giving birth. So, in essence, what I'm saying is the point you have said. We have to have a different way of communicating to our young people.
And that's what I want us to discuss after this break. 27 minutes to 9, our guest is Dr. Ruth Gadon Musha. She is the CEO of the National Syndemic Diseases Control Council. We are talking about the syndemic diseases, starting off with HIV and then going into STI and the others, and particularly behavior-wise. So there's concern that's been flagged by the National Syndemic Diseases Control Council on the young people and their behavior when it comes to sex. Many of them, as we are hearing, are just going into something that they've now considered it's an emergency drug. You go and buy pre-exposure prophylaxis or post-exposure prophylaxis. You're not even following the dosage. You're getting it from your colleagues. You're buying it underwater, you're buying 2 tablets, 3 tablets, just because you think you're exposing or you've been exposed to some risky sexual behavior. And that's completely wrong because you're not even following the dosage. This is an alarm that needs to be raised, and we are raising it this morning. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in
Ben low, you markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. And he must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, "Now you, fellow you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat."
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
It's still partly cloudy in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 16, and lows will be of 16. Mostly cloudy conditions in Nakuru. It's cloudy at 19 in Nyeri with highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 24 in a mostly sunny Eldoret at 17. Mombasa this morning at 29 is sunny. We'll see highs of 33, and 33 will also be the high in a sunny Malindi at 30. 22 and cloudy in Kisumu with highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 26 in a cloudy Kakamega at 20. Out into Kampala, it's 20 and partly sunny, while it's now raining in Dar es Salaam, with going to highs of 30 and lows of 25. It's 13 and cloudy in Johannesburg with highs of 16, and we'll see highs of 33 in a mostly cloudy Mogadishu at 30. Addis Ababa is sunny at 18 with highs of 24 and lows of 13, and we're looking into a rainy Lagos at 28 with highs of 30. 24 in a cloudy Kinshasa with highs of 28 and lows of 23.
Some very nice, mature music.
They really take me back to my days, and I can just feel young again and enjoy the vibes.
Spice.
I'm a big listener of SpiceFM.
You play the best music.
This is 94.4 Spice.
This morning, Uhuru Highway is packed all the way from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout junction, and there's traffic coming in from Langata Road. Everybody trying to get into the city this morning, and it doesn't look good. We're also looking at inbound traffic on Uhuru Highway coming in from Haile Selassie at that junction, so it doesn't matter whether it's in or outbound, it is jam-packed. Coming off of Muranga Road, that still continues. Kipande Road, absolute mess. Slip Road, trying to get towards Moi Avenue, that's another story. Also looking at folks using General Waroingi Road coming in from Muranga Road, so trying to get away from that drama that's going towards the Globe Cinema overpass. I don't even want to tell you how bad it looks coming off of Wangari Maathai, trying to get towards Chiromo. Folks are using the long way, going back on James Gishuru and trying to go through towards the city. So everywhere you look this morning, what will you find? You'll find traffic. A good route. If you find it, let us know. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Do you know about
94.
Condom use? How much do you know about emergency contraceptives? How much do you know about PrEP and PEP? This is a conversation that we're having this morning with Dr. Ruth Libon Musha, the CEO of the National Syndemic Diseases Control Council. After the Safari Rally weekend, that's the Easter weekend, we saw the council raising these issues. What is it that you observed over that Safari Rally weekend? Because you had people who are out there distributing condoms and trying to raise awareness about transmission. What did you observe?
So one of the challenges we've been seeing over time, even before the Safari Rally, was that, and I did raise it again, it's very interesting that I find a scenario where I see young people, and I speak young people below the age of 35. You can walk into a facility or a wine and spirit and walk in and buy a bottle of, what do you call it, 18 years and...
Whatever drink you buy.
Let's say 18 years, whatever they are.
18 year.
Whatever, 12 years, 18
whiskey.
years. Whiskey. And then... and you're already planning that you're going to have sex. And the one thing that you don't buy is a condom that is right there in the same place. So the question is why? If we do studies and compare ourselves with other countries such as Nigeria, and we say that we give as a government free to use condoms, and we ask people, are you willing to buy condoms for high-risk sex? People say, yes, we are willing. But then we find that we are one of the countries that rely only on public free-to-use condoms, and therefore, when they are not there in where you are, then you decide then it's okay, I can have condomless sex. So that is a place of lack of knowledge, and that is what we're saying. It's the same story you said, camel and the brain of the camel and the camel driver. Because the reason why the free-to-use condoms are available from the government perspective is because the government sees these diseases, HIV, mistime pregnancy, sexually transmitted infections, as also part of what we call diseases that are of public health importance, but also they can interfere with our socioeconomic development. So it's important also for citizens to practice the same, so that it's a cooperation. You know, you can buy a condom, the government can provide a condom, but the use is dependent on the citizen cooperation. So let's begin from there. Now, young people, we also agree that there's one message that is important for our young people: abstinence. You know, it's not all the young people having sex. It's just the few that are having, which is also a very worrying statistic. You find that the few young people having sex, they give you so much negative implications. Our cohort of people living with HIV, a majority are between currently the ages of 34 to 54. Our new infections are then 35 downwards. When we speak about 4,400 children born with HIV, and ask ourselves, who are their parents? Their parents are younger. Yes, they are younger. Actually, in some cases...
Younger meaning what, 35 and below, 40
even
and below?
24 and below. Or, you know, the younger the mother, the more likely she's likely to transmit HIV. And especially if she's an adolescent. She comes to the facility late. And remember that the one thing we do for HIV transmission among children from mother to child is what you call also another ARV-based prevention, just like we are speaking, because we make sure the mother is on treatment, and we also give the child ARVs so that she can get, or he can get, the baby can get the prophylaxis, similar to what you're speaking about, the pre-exposure and the post-exposure use of ARVs. Now, if I can't get this mother early, meaning that she's either hiding the pregnancy or maybe she's relying on other people to bring her to the facility, she ends up coming too late. And therefore she becomes our transmitting mother. So what we are saying is that we have done extremely well. And one of the things we've done well is to ensure we are looking for HIV positive people, we are giving them treatment, we are diagnosing, and they are on treatment. And the coverage is good. Now, where is our challenge as a country? As you get a group that is growing older, in the cohort, they have lived with HIV for 30 years and more. Then we have babies being born with HIV. Then we have this group that is now a smaller proportion of them having sex, injecting drugs, now contributing to your significant infections, about 75%. So what it means is that while you're making success stories within the response, because you are one of the best response, you are left with a very high burden of about 1.4 million people living with HIV, and then the cycle is not ending, because the child who is getting HIV will have to be on treatment for life. The young mother, the young man, and actually 20 to 24, the young men, have the lowest access to treatment, 20 to 24. 54% coverage.
Lowest access to treatment. Sorry if I can interject. Lowest access to treatment, is that because of care-seeking behavior, or is it because of demographics in terms of geography? What are we talking about?
20 to 24 young men, I think for me is because they are healthy. The only time that we actually are capturing their numbers is when they come for blood donation, because when you ask for people to come for blood donation, families tend to bring their best,
Yes.
The young ones. And those young men, that's sometimes where you find them.
That's when you now start
Yes,
noticing.
because they don't come into contact with they are not sick. So they can live with latency, with face of HIV, and they don't know until sometimes you capture them when they get pneumonia, or mostly the tuberculosis.
Yeah.
That is when we are finding them. So we actually are running a campaign now from the next 6 months, targeting men. Because whereas we have more women getting infected with HIV, we have a challenge of losing more men. The ratios, the proportion of men dying of AIDS-related illnesses is higher than women. Why? Because then men delay diagnosis, and then men also end up coming too late.
Yeah.
So that is a scenario we are having. Children, men. Now, when men are not viral suppressed, that is also another problem. Because, again, we have to look at demographics. Who is having, because if you have, last year, we had about 259,000 children. I call them children because those are 10 to 19-year-olds who are in our health facilities coming as pregnant mothers. When you start asking who are the fathers of these babies, interesting, the age cohort has changed. It's no longer the Mbaba. No. In fact, it is just an age group slightly higher than them.
It is the college kids.
College kids, 2024. The 19-year-old is saying the boyfriend is a 21-year-old. So this whole combination of until 34 that is also having sex with the other generation, we are seeing a problem there. Now, the other challenge, which is huge, is that these young people, unlike the older generation, also have multiple sexual, because of the energy. So they'll have more sex. So that sex needs to be protected. Because like older people who probably have less sexual activity because of age, comorbidity diseases coming in, this young group is very sexually active. So you must contain this group that is sexually active by insisting that people have to use condoms.
But then, Dr. Where is the gap in information? Because you're talking about a generation that has now more and more places where they can access information. The older generations had a challenge. I mean, so yes, there is HIV, there is a lack of proper awareness and understanding what HIV is, what it means, transmission, and the risk factors. The younger generation, you'd expect, would have greater access to this information. But they're the ones that we're talking about, they have access to the wrong information. Why?
Let me give you an example. Let's go back to menstruation. Just that. If we are having the wrong information even on menstruation, we've had a case in example where I know of a child who was telling us that they are pregnant, but they told us they've not had sex. So because when you ask the child, because it's a child, what do you mean? He said, the only thing I've done is a game I've been playing with my brother and my two brothers. The question is it the system? Is it the parents? Is the religious leader? Who is failing here? So the basic information is, if you're not even having conversation about menstruation, what has changed? During, I had this especially my day, there was someone to ask about menstruation. It may have not been my mother, but the system was there. It was an auntie, it was a grandmother. It was a friend who has a grandmother who has an auntie, who would even go and show you even how to use your cotton wool and show you how to lay it down properly. Now you have a generation that the only things most of them have, those who have the agency, they are using their phones. They check, they get all this kind of information, and they are left to choose on their own. Then you come to the rural area. Then this one also, who may not have access to the phone, is depending on others. We went to Homa Bay, and we found a group of young girls who told us that for them, getting pregnant was a good thing, because those who were getting pregnant, they were blossoming up. They were getting hips. And then borders were willing to marry them or have sex with them, and they became more attractive. So they were being driven to have sex as a way of getting pregnant.
Becoming more attractive.
Yes. So that is the knowledge you're speaking about.
So where are the failures?
So
that's why I want to come back
onto
that.
So the failure we are having currently is a failure of all of us. It is a failure of one that we are leaving the children without a trust pathway. Mm-hmm. Parents are too busy. Mm-hmm. And rightfully, times are hard. If I am a hairdresser today, I live in, let's say I live in some urban poor area. I leave my house at 5. I come back at 8 or 9. The next thing, I do the same. So I leave my child to who? To the teacher. Then the teacher is also coming from a generation that was not speaking about sexual matters. Yeah. And it's a bit of what you've put in the curriculum, but it's not deep enough. The child is left there confused. Goes back home, can watch a bit of your things if they are lucky to have a television. And then the knowledge gaps continue increasing. And guess what continues? And that is why we are seeing that information available, but the wrong information available. So what we are saying is that we have to see who is these trusted people that we've missed. And one of the things that we are saying is that they trust their friends. Whatever their friend says is a true gospel. If my friend says I got post-exposure prophylaxis and I never got HIV, where are they? Yeah. So they pass each other. They were even telling me the colors of these drugs. So they pass to each other that the friend is a trusted ally. Because why? The friend doesn't lie. Even if they are saying the wrong information, they don't lie. So what we are saying is that we have to come back to them. And one of the things we've done as an institution, we have created something you're calling Jijali. And we said, as a government, we can step back. Now, show us how you want to communicate to each other. And very interesting. All the things we've thought about traditional media, that's not what they want. They want to do their short skits. Yeah. They want to give information differently from what we have been doing. And that's the way we have to go. We have to ask ourselves, is information or knowledge of some of these things you're talking about a critical element of life given to these young people? Once you have accepted, then we'll never fight about what should we give our children.
Sounds to me, Dr. Harry, that the National Syndemic Diseases Control Council and its precursor, the National AIDS Control Council, and the other agencies that were there got left out in this generation. The way you were dealing with the previous generations and how you communicate, put up billboards, go to radio stations, go to TV, you were stuck on that. You did not realize that there's a new generation that has a different method of consuming information. And now you're playing catch up.
I wouldn't want to just say that as an institution that we are only playing catch up, but I also would say it's a society.
Yeah. But we've given you the agency, Dr.
So, as an
agency, the
agency,
National Syndemic Control Council has been created and is being funded to take lead on this, to come to us and tell us, you as a community, if you have church, you have whatever kind of influence as a community you have, this is what you should do. But you got caught out.
So what I would say is that the information that we've been giving to the public, the education, the systems, the radio, the TV, the media, has been evolving very, very fast. And we must all admit, evolving faster than ourselves. Yep. Today, I was looking at a software package, a reel shot or something, the small little videos people are paying for on your phone. I mean, today I can read my book, audio book. I pay for it. Instead of reading the book, someone reads for me until I fall asleep. So this technology is changing. And we must admit that the traditional way we've been communicating, right, like you rightly say, is not going to reach this generation. And we also accept it. We have to accept that we cannot continue arguing as adults, because if I had come to you earlier on as a government agency and you see those kind of apps going around and us commenting or dancing with young people, you would have said those people are immoral, isn't it? Yes. We have been caught up with a morality discussion. All of us. What should you teach the young people? Our group was talking about abstinence. Another group was talking about comprehensive sexuality education. Another group was talking about what is right and what is wrong for these young people. So all of us get caught up with the what to teach instead of us agreeing that there's actually a gap in knowledge. So once we are all inconsistently agreeing, so we ask ourselves, what is it because a religious leader, their goal and their role is to take people to heaven.
Yes.
Isn't it? And if they are the best to communicate abstinence, let them be. Let's allow them to communicate that abstinence. Now, from a perspective of a public health specialist, I know that it's not size, everything doesn't fit for everyone. I will also have these ones who are also being sexually coerced. I have to have a message for them. And that is why I'm saying the ones who are sexually, we had about 22,000 of them. Is it 22? Yes. More than 22,000 actually, of them that were sexually violated, 2017 last year. What do I do with that cohort? Then that one I need to make sure that people around them also are taking them to the hospital to access emergency contraception, to access post-exposure prophylaxis. That's another set of group
to deal with.
So I cannot now say that my work will become like the religious leaders I'll focus on.
It can't be one size fits all.
Yes.
Dr. How many young people do you have working in your organization? And by young, I mean that cohort that you've talked about, the 19, 20, 21 to 35-year-olds.
So what we have done in terms of creating a movement of young people, we have young people we call Maisha Youth. So Maisha Youth is a network of young people. In fact, they select each other. So within the organization, I host their council. So across the country, they have 47 chapters. And these 47 chapters have not less than 100 young people who are actively involved every day with our organization. When we go for activities, we go with them. And they're very, very creative. In fact, we give them the space. They do their own messaging, and they actually attach it to us. So the Maisha Youth Movement, we created it because of exactly what we are speaking today. That we realize that if we don't give them the space to express themselves and to show us how they needed to be communicated to, would be lagging behind. And it's probably one of the best things that I think as a leader I have allowed to happen and has given me a high impact.
How much does it influence decision making at the institution?
It does, because the Maisha Youth Council is seated at the technical division. So when we are discussing strategies, when we are discussing messaging, we actually pretest with them. They do with us. They actually sit, the council sit with us. And it's basically like a voluntary basis, but we only give a small step to the ones that are within the organization and also the ones on the ground when they come for activities for us. That is one way we've done. Secondly, again, we try and make sure that we are also linking to other youth-serving organizations. So that is part of what we are doing to make sure that we are not speaking to ourselves. Then the other element that we also have put on board is that before we come up with a program for young people, we say it must be done by the young people. So that is why, for example, I was talking about the Jijali. I would have called Jijali something else, but when they went around and the same Maisha Youth, they came back and said, this is how we want it to be. This is how we want to create our short stories. Then you say, let it be. So they are really influencing how we are thinking, because we know that without them, we may have missteps and then come back later to be caught up by another generation. When you're saying you're doing Generation Z, then all of a sudden it's Alpha. They keep changing, it's dynamic. But also, it's a very short period.
Right.
That is what you must understand. Young people are not there for a long time. It's a short period of time. That is why, as parents, as religious leaders, we must look at that period of 10 to 24 as very critical period of development. 10 to 19, you can shape someone. You can shift their mindset so that we can all get our energies within this group and then be able to say we've transformed their thinking. Even in abstinence discussion, I always say that let's go back to the basics, the abstinence. Then we move from abstinence. Then we talk about the condom. Then now we say the ones who are at risk. Allow me to also speak about the other thing I found in Naivasha. Alcohol, drugs, and substance abuse. Currently, we have about 26,000 of people who inject drugs in this country, and they inject common drug use injected in this country is heroin. Now, heroin use is prevalent among young people, the same cohort you're speaking about. They have HIV almost 5 times than the general population prevalence. Now, what is making heroin use become more acceptable among young people? One, when people are using alcohol, it's easy for families to see and to know.
Yeah.
But as they start seeing their families knowing this and they want to get something, they go to drugs that we call secret drugs. Because once they get a shot, they are not smelling, they are not your typical person, and they can be able to hide. We have found that also that growing population of young people using drugs is becoming a big challenge. And if you're not careful as a country, we may also find ourselves in a big mess. And you've seen countries that also had a similar challenge, like Mauritius, having a really big crisis in the future. We know drug is also in hepatitis, viral hepatitis, are linked. So we are also saying that also as we speak about these other things, sex, condoms, and the drug use of pre and post exposure, let's also not forget the injecting drug use practices, and we must provide adequate information on all those.
Wow. Dr. thank you for joining us today. Thank you for raising this alarm, and it's important that we keep raising this alarm. The platform is here. We'll invite you again to come and let's talk about this much later. Dr. Ruth Gadon Musha, the CEO of the National Syndemic Diseases Control Council, has been our guest. It's 9 a.m. Time for the news.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asset. EAC Secretary General Peter Mathuki is among the 5 nominees to be vetted for the ambassadorial jobs. They are appearing before the National Assembly's Committee of Defense. Others are Jessica Muthoni of Morocco, Halima Musheke, Netherlands, David Kiplangat, Washington, D.C., and Evelyn Mwenda, Cuba. Now, Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja is expected to appear before the Senate's County Public Accounts Committee to respond to audit queries in the auditor raised by the Auditor General in the corridors of justice. Celebrated DJ John Falme and the team to appear before the Kibera Law Courts from 9 a.m. that is anytime from now. On March 16th, DJ John Falme and his team were headed home in Kikuyu when they were involved in a minor non-injury accident. Police said his car was crushed in the accident. This led to an altercation with Kilian before police were called to the scene. Meanwhile, the deadline for the closure of schools for April holiday is today. The learners are to report back for the second term from April 29th. On the fake fertilizers, Carlo Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi is expected to appear before MPs over the fake fertilizer fiasco. Also expected to appear is the Principal Secretary in the Ministry and officials from NCPB and CAFIS. They will appear before the National Assembly's Agriculture Committee. Elsewhere, President William Ruto is today expected to commission the 45 billion shillings Semtech Sebit clinkerization plant in West Pokot. This is a story that we're following up for you the whole day today. And also Raymond Omolo, the Principal Secretary for Internal Security and National Administration, will be the chief guest at the 2024 Q1 State of Petroleum Industry briefing at a Nairobi hotel. And some 8,571 medics the government hired and dispatched to counties under the UHC program during the COVID-19 pandemic with promises of permanent and pensionable terms will be staging a mega demo tomorrow at Green Park Terminus from 9 a.m. They shall be demonstrating to demand that their terms of service be implemented. And finally, Milimani Court will today determine a case in which Ketraco boss Anthony Wamukota is challenging his removal from office following a recommendation by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. And police in Uasin Gishu County arrested 3 suspects linked to the rampant theft of mobile phones in Elgonview area of Eldoret. It is said 2 of the suspects are not area residents and have rented a house in Eldoret town where they have been operating from. The suspects are accused of snatching phones and fleeing on a motorcycle, then selling the phones through a shop operator in Eldoret town, who was also arrested as the 3rd suspect. They are expected to be arraigned in court today. Now, 8 Kenya Bureau of Standards officials have been suspended in connection to the fake fertilizer scandal, which is the subject of investigations by Directorate of Criminal Investigation, Detectives and Parliament. The 8 were interdicted over the issuance of certification and marks of quality to 2 companies which have been linked to the substandard fertilizer. This as 120 bags of alleged fertilizer was nabbed in Bungoma County. For the field in Rwanda's President Paul Kagame says the international community had failed the country during the 1994 genocide as he paid tribute to the 800,000 victims when Hutu extremists tore apart the nation 30 years ago. In keeping with tradition, the ceremonies on April 7th, the day Hutu militias unleashed the carnage in 1994, began with Kagame placing wreaths on mass graves and lighting a remembrance flame at the Kigali Genocide Memorial, where more than 250,000 victims are believed to be buried.
I want to recognize a few while also asking for forgiveness for not being able to mention all who deserve it. For example, Uganda, the leadership and the people of Ethiopia and Eritrea. There is Kenya, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo hosted large members of Rwandan refugees. Many of the countries represented here today also sent their sons and daughters to serve as peacekeepers in Rwanda. Those soldiers did not fail Rwanda. It was the international community which failed all of us, whether from contempt or cowardice.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM.
Into the CBD this morning, and we're looking at quite some of that. Let's take a look at traffic coming in from Arboretum, also starting to join this whole Chiromo fiasco, and then coming in from Wangari Maathai Way through towards the Museum Hill area. You're going to get towards Boulevard, and then you turn into the city there. Kipande Road also very busy. Folks trying to get over Globe Cinema and then into the CBD. That continues also on Muranga Road, getting into the city this morning, coming off of General Warayungi Way and then coming through towards Ring Road. That's also busy. Oh my goodness, I don't know. I'm looking for where there's no traffic this morning, and we're not going to find too much of that. Let's take a look at the Eastern Bypass, where there was some traffic earlier coming in from North Airport Road, then touching a little bit then on Outer Ring. That seems to be okay for now. We're going to be in traffic hour later than usual. Let's take a look at how that is in about half hour. So we'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The final hour of The Situation Room today, this 8th day of April 2024. How are you doing? We thank you very much for choosing this station to be the way you start your morning, whether on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, on YouTube or Facebook or X or IG, wherever you find our content, on the online radio platforms, Kina Radio Garden and the rest, wherever you find our content. Asante sana. The next conversation is going to be about the problem that's in the country. Okay. Drinking.
Okay, that
and the
one.
Solution.
Okay. Please be specific.
The problem. Shida yetu hii Kenya ni pombe.
Okay.
Hii mambo ingine yote inaanzia na So we are going to crack down on alcohol.
Okay.
Shut down everybody because you're shida. We're joined by the national chairman of the Pubs, Entertainment and Restaurants Association of Kenya, Michael Kiragu Mudami. Good morning, Michael.
Morning.
Welcome to the hot seat of Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
Yep. So Pubs, Entertainment, Restaurants Association, you basically cover everywhere where we just go for what city calls social, cultural establishments.
Yes.
Cultural establishments where people go to sit down and unwind.
Yes.
Okay. And there's been a national crackdown on alcohol abuse in the country, which has, of course, invariably led to various actions being taken on some pubs, on some restaurants, and some entertainment joints across the country. That's why you're here, so that you can talk to us about it, the impact that this is having on the business, but also whether it's having an impact on consumption of illicit alcohol in the country. But to welcome you to the conversation, I have the day's proverb. CT is not in, but he sent me the proverb. He told me this week the proverbs are from the Kingdom of Morocco, and he sent me today's proverb, which, listen to it keenly, you'll give us your interpretation. It's not if you eat for tomorrow, that's last week's. What's in the head of the camel is not what is in the head of the camel driver. What's in the head of the camel is not what's in the head of the camel driver.
That's interesting. I suppose it's more or less what is happening in our political sphere at the moment, I would expect, where there's a plan that we might not all be aware of because of lack of communication, whereby we are being taken on a journey. We want to know where this journey is taking us, because we would probably be shouting less if we knew where we were going or what the whole point of everything that's being done is. Yes.
So you guys as Perak, you're the camel.
It
you have
seems
one idea.
We might
and
be
the camel driver.
might even be the road, because we're being stepped on.
Let's first talk about Perak.
Yes.
What is Perak? How many members are you? How old are you? What do you do? What's the role of Perak?
Actually, that's a good thing because we are 20 this year. 20 good years old. So it's a business, it's an association of like-minded businesses through the hospitality sector. It was actually put together back in end of 2003, 2004. Funny enough, it was started to fight with the copyright people. That fight goes far as back as then. They were entering establishments, going with people's televisions and everything. So that war has been going on. They've been eating artists' money for the last 20 years. So that's where it started, whereby there was a lot of harassment. As in about 2003, 2004. So they were banded together to try and do some advocacy for the hospitality industry. And it's been going strong with ebbs and flows since then. As all business associations, I think, come together when problems arise. Although we've been going strong, our secretariat has been there for the last 20 years. And we find everything is circular. Even this fight against alcohol is not the first time. It's now like elections. Every 5 years, the same fight will come. So if you've been it long enough, you understand where people are coming from. We are just the soft underbelly. We are the easiest people to...
Easy target.
Easy target. When people cannot solve other issues, we are the one that is easily solvable.
Are you an easy target for a legitimate fight, or do you consider the fight illegitimate, ill-advised?
The fight is all of us, because I don't think there's anyone who's not affected by what they call alcohol abuse or drug abuse or something. I think every other person has a member of their family, whether extended or someone, who has had issues with something like that. But that does not mean that it now becomes we are the ones. Because, for example, if the fight is against illicit alcohol, then us as legitimate bar owners, we are the wrong target. I'm not going to spend all that money on licensing. I'm not going to spend all that money on getting myself all the necessary documents and everything, open an establishment, be legitimate, then start selling illicit brew. So we are the easy face because they know where we are.
I see.
So if you have everything, as you just get a list from the county, you know where I am, what's my address, where I am. So it's easy for the police to come there.
Okay, so for 1 quick minute, as you sit in this position, put yourself in the shoe of this. Essentially, I mean, this is government, and I'm not saying for purposes of understanding. I'm saying for purposes of action. So what do you think it would achieve if they said, okay, well, what was it? We're going to shut down everything within a 300-meter radius. We're going to say don't sell in residential areas, whatever. What do you think it would achieve for government if that actually came to pass? If it was you now saying, I'm going to shut this down, what do you think what would I have achieved? Would I have just achieved the directive? Would I have more order? Would I have, less of a vice being sold to younger people, whatever? What would I achieve?
Okay, first of all, if we just take the law as it is, which is the Alcoholic Act, which is now the one which is being used nationally, which I'll come to that later, is even... It's even wrong that we're using that law, first of all. But if we use it, first of all, we have to realize this is a copy and paste we did from somewhere else when Nakada came in. And the rules that were being put there are not necessarily congruent with our situation on the ground in Kenya. And for example, there's a huge problem we have in the counties with with building permits and everything. I could have come here, set up, put a bar 20 years ago. Right now, my neighbors is residential. It is schools. It is whatever it is.
They found you here.
They found me here. Now you're walking up to me and telling me close. I've been here for 20 years. How fair is that? We have places that are obviously in contravention of but whose fault is that at the end of the day? We have the county that licensed that person, gave them a permit to do that work there. So that's where the problem comes in. I think it's a problem of enforcement. It's a problem of... At the bottom of it, there's a huge part that has to do with lack of governance at the bottom there. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, so what I'm trying to establish here is that if there is understanding from both sides, admittedly, you've said, okay, yeah, there's some folks who are not, playing along according to the rules. But for us to also see if even from the eye of those who are practitioners, that there is some sense at whatever level when folks are being asked to shut down in the manner in which they are being asked to. Does it make sense at any level at all?
No, to me it doesn't, because what you're doing is blanket. It is knee-jerk reactions that we've always had in this country, whereby something happens, you shut down everything. One matatu having an accident here on the road would not make me remove all the matatus from the road, which is basically what they're doing.
Well, we see that's part of the action that's taken. A matatu causes an accident, the matatus belonging to that circle are suspended from the road.
Or somebody is accused of drunk driving and everybody has to take a test again, or retest or whatever.
So thank you. In fact, you brought something very good there, where when you say that there was a framework, first of all, put in place for the circle system.
Yes.
They didn't just start removing matters, they actually first put in a framework. There is a lack of that framework in the hospitality industry. So it is not justified. You see, if everybody was working off the same script, then you could say, because one thing we've been pushing for as PERAC is self-regulation in this thing. I think when we got a point, we did a policy paper even to the presidential thing. We got to a place when we got the president himself at the time was Uhuru to say, we want this move towards self-regulation during COVID. But it is not in the interest of a lot of people in that governance structure for us to have that.
Why?
We are easier to deal with divided. So it is any sort of...
I said the interest of government, the bigger interest of government here is what? Is collecting revenue from you.
Depends what government you're looking at. Like now, and I'll come to the point, is that we as this part of the sector, the trade sector, this is a devolved function. But now we are dealing with it nationally. Every county has their own Alcoholics Act drink. Alcoholic Drink Act. Right now, the national government have said that none of those acts matter, more or less. We are following the one which we had before devolution. And that is the case. If you find a lot of these county security teams, they lack the county aspect. Yes, like now in Nairobi, there's no county officers working with those guys. We have chiefs who are walking around putting X's on bars. This chief doesn't know what is what.
They don't know what was licensed.
They don't. They have the
framework for licensing it.
Yeah, because we have sub-county committees that have gone, looked at the place, agreed, done their research, then given a liquor license for that place. Yes. When you tell chiefs we have tunafunga kila kitu, then on the ground they'll do what they want.
They just go and funga kila kitu.
Yes.
What's the genesis of this conversation? The genesis of this is the government seeing a proliferation of illicit liquor in the market. And we've even talked to those who produce licit liquor. And they've come here and they've told us their market share is about 40, it's less than 50%.
Yes.
Market share of the formal drinks that are being consumed in the market. That means over 50% of what is in the market is what is considered illicit in one way or another.
Yes.
It's counterfeit, it's completely poisonous, it is substandard, it's all those things.
Yes.
So there's a problem here.
Huge.
Right? And this is being consumed not in people's homes necessarily, but it's being consumed in some establishment of some sort.
Yes, majority of those establishments being people who don't pay license.
Okay, so let's now go
These
back.
These are back-end,
let's go into
alley places.
Let's go into that, Michael.
Yes.
Where are people accessing this 50% plus of these dirty drinks? Where are they being consumed? And how are they getting there?
Yes, I think we need to draw a very quick line in illicit, because I think if we go now also to revenue, I've been in front of Parliament, I think, 2 or 3 times, talking about this, asking them, don't add this tax, because the more you're adding this tax, the more you're pushing people into that illicit. You're growing the illicit. We can see you're growing. You think that the pressure that we are in a very elastic. People are very price sensitive. There's no money in people's pockets. The more you push legitimate alcohol out of their reach, it's not that this person is going to Okoh and stop drinking that day. He's going to drink what is accessible.
So what you're saying,
what is accessible is
the illicit.
The illicit.
Okay. So where are they accessing it from? The people, when they're pushed by whatever circumstances towards now this cheaper, which is then illicit drinks, where do they get it?
Okay, I think we banned that illicit to like what started this fight, which is that killer drink.
Yeah.
I think there are people who are, I don't know how to say, I would even use the word evil, where you don't care what you're making, all you're thinking about is your bottom line.
Yeah.
And those people, I think, if I'm honest, are known by these same chiefs who are chasing people.
Okay.
Because there's no way you're making that and it's being sold and you are the security officer in the area and you don't know who
are they the minority?
They are. Otherwise, we'd have a lot more deaths. So that is a minority.
We have these guys who are packaging ethanol in bottles.
Yes, but even them, if you look at it, if you look at even the distribution models of alcohol that we have, that person is it's not using the ones we see in the light. Let us be honest. The lorry that is coming from Kenya breweries is not carrying illicit. The ones that's carrying from most of the distributors is not carrying illicit. We have had minor instances of unscrupulous maybe distributor, and maybe it's not even the distributor. We have maybe a driver, or there's a town boy who was there. He's gone, he's been told hapa kuna pesa ya rack. So they offload one, they put some fake that will reach somewhere. I think we have all been
bundled together.
Yes, we have been victims of that at one time or another. There's a time, I think it was like 6 years ago, pre-COVID, when Jameson was a very, very popular drink, and we had, unfortunately for them, adulterated coming from across the border from Tanzania by container that came and even spoiled their market share a bit, which was very unfortunate. Yeah, that's why we have even the legitimate ones keep changing their bottles.
So the criminals,
yes,
are using the same network as the legal guys in terms of access to the consumer.
Not a lot. Small, it's a very small.
The consumer will go to a place that is public.
Yes.
Like a local shopping center. It's not hidden. It's like a local shopping center. They will enter there, several 10, 15, 20 consumers today, tomorrow, the day after. They will be consuming alcohol from this place in the full glare and view of the locals. The local administration, the local chief, the local sub-county, liquor licensing committee, everybody in the full glare of that. And for the alcohol to get to that person who's selling, it has come in through some channel, right?
For example, we keep calling this alcohol Kariobangi, light industry.
Yes.
Here is in Pombe light industry.
Yes.
Obviously, there is somewhere that something has passed. It is like anything else. Like we have the contraband cigarettes, we have everything. We have a few unscrupulous people trying to make a fast buck. But this, again, we come to say, for those channels, let us remember, first of all, who is consuming this alcohol. It is, unfortunately, a lot of it is being consumed by those who are not able to afford the alcohol that can. It's not in these bars that are open in the shopping centers. Let's be honest. Illicit is being drunk, a lot of it in back alleys, in the villages, and that is, I understand where the deputy president is coming from. When you walk, even when you walk in the village, and you are walking, and it's 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and someone is completely obliterated. That person has not walked into a bar and drank a beer. That person has not. So when you're closing that bar, you're not stopping.
You're not answering my question, Michael. Where are people getting this out? Where are they drinking? Are they drinking in their homes?
A hole in the wall somewhere? Under a tree? Drinking? What's happening?
Oh, no, yes, some back alley places. It's not as in the bars that I'm not going
to. It's not the cultural establishment where you're going to go have a seat.
What's a back alley place? Is it that a guy comes with a tuk-tuk and parks somewhere, and in the evening that tuk-tuk is gone? I mean, what is a back alley place? Is it a building that people in this village know, kwa Michael ni pale, and we drink there? Or is it, we know Michael sells alcohol, now we are trying to listen to where is Michael
based today? Or is it somebody who sells vegetables and then under the table has a thing in a basin?
Okay, there's places where I've gone and seen in the front is a hardware and the back is selling. And the count is coming around, they close the thing. And I have seen that, yes.
They just retain the hardware.
Yes. That is there, especially when you come to the peri-urban areas, and that one is there. We have, unfortunately, we've had even the mushrooming of the very small wines and spirit that to make ends meet, I'm sure one or two of them have done it. That is there. That I cannot refuse.
And do they have licenses?
Majority don't, no. They don't. Why? If I'm already doing illegal things, why would I bother? We have a very big problem. People who are licensed are the first ones to be cut. You'll find a police officer or you'll find someone from the county walking past unlicensed places who have already paid them off to that licensed bar, because that licensed bar has something to lose, to ask them for
a bribe.
Yes, or to harass them, because that person has a lot to lose. So as legitimate businessmen, we become the brunt. We bear the brunt of all enforcement. We bear a lot of this. Because the people who are there on the side, they've already taken care of them. For him even to be open, he's already paid off all these people. So I think our issue is we should be, if the government was actually serious about fighting illicit, is to invite us as stakeholders, because we are the people, real stakeholders. We are more against illicit than that government, because they are taking money out of our pocket.
But if I've heard you right, the person who has a licensed bar here knows his customers.
Yes.
Also knows his competition.
Yes.
Right? So the person with a bar knows that he is selling legitimate drinks.
Yes.
But he also knows who is selling illegitimate drinks.
I believe in many areas it is common knowledge. I will not just say only the bar owner.
Okay, yeah.
Even that chief, even that
the chief.
policeman.
But the bar owner, the legitimate bar owner, knows who is selling the illegals.
He might be aware. I don't want to.
I'm not trying to pin you down.
Yes.
I'm just saying, I mean.
Yes. It's mostly common knowledge.
Most likely, you will know that kuna pombe haramu inauzwa pale. Because you can see people staggering and you're wondering, sijauza pombe, has my person started selling booze before time and all those things? So you'll find out where this guy is drinking from. Because this is your market.
You as a legitimate, first of all, even that bottle, you're not opening and selling halves. That guy who's selling illicit, even that bottle, that quarter, anapima, nakuzia half. There's another which I saw, they take 2 glasses, they do half and half of some cheap Sprite equivalent, put there.
Okay.
That's half. You catch up as by the time he's walking, he's already staggering up.
Have you as an association ever done a census or sort of a survey and established the number of illicit alcoholic joints within a radius of the legal operating alcoholic joints?
We haven't. There was one done in conjunction recently with the ABAC, and we've been having even the sensitization across the country, following up with this on illicit. And even we have invited government officials to those things. So we've been trying to bring them in to actually show them we are with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think, and I think this is almost the call, even without it being said, Michael, is that do you think that you bear responsibility to then also make sure that, I mean, it's a difficult question to ask, but to think that those who are consuming the alcohol, regardless of where they are, then do you bear responsibility in order of care? That, we can be responsible while we consume?
I think we have a duty of care of those who we are hosting in our establishments. I think the line stops there, because the line after there is it's government work again. And what we want to do is come on the table together as stakeholders. If they want to put that responsibility of us, they also have to give the power to deal with it to us as well.
How would that look?
That would look as, again, we're talking about self-regulation. You see, in an area, if we now become part of the stakeholder program. Now, if there was we know that establishment is not towing the line, within ourselves we'll deal with that situation before even it's gotten to the government. Yes. It's the same way now with the borders are dealing with their own problems.
How will you do it? You cannot withdraw their license. You're not a licensor.
Because if this is a big problem, because, for example, right now on the sub-county committees, liquor committees, we have no representation, which it does not make sense at all. Yeah, there is one trying to go through Parliament now that actually they are even trying to put religious leaders on the subcommittees, but we are still out. How would you? It makes no sense at all. So we need to be involved in the process in order to be part of the solution. Yes.
Let's take a break. We'll continue shortly, 27 minutes to 10. Michael is our guest this morning. Michael Kirago Mudami is the National Chairman of the Pubs, Entertainment and Restaurants Association of Kenya, PERAC. We are talking about the impact of the ongoing crackdown on illicit alcohol. What impact is it having on the legitimate businesses that are open in the country? He says, of course, because we are the most visible, we are easier, we are operating formally, we are the first ones to be shut down. We are the first ones to be impacted. And our business is now being closed, while those illegal businesses that have been operating under the radar anyway are still operating under the radar. Okay. Let's talk about that and what the solution then would be. We'll be back shortly.
Looking at the sunny conditions now in Nairobi at 20 and mostly sunny in Nakuru. It's 21 and sunny in Nyeri now, and after a cloudy morning, it's partly sunny at 18 in Eldoret, going to highs of 24. It's sunny at 30 in Mombasa and 31 and mostly sunny in Malindi. Kisumu this morning is cloudy at 24. We'll see highs of 26, and 26 will also be the high in a mostly cloudy Kakamega at 22. Out into Kampala, mostly cloudy at 22 with highs of 26, and it's now raining ever so lightly in Dar es Salaam with highs of 30 and lows of 25. Johannesburg is cloudy and windy at 14 with highs of 16 through Monday. Mogadishu cloudy at 31, we'll see highs of 33 and 19 and mostly sunny conditions. In Addis Ababa we'll go to highs of 24. The rain keeps coming down in Lagos at 28 with highs of 33, while Kinshasa is cloudy at 24. It'll go to highs of 28. Monday afternoon is sunny in Beijing at 22. That'll be the high, coming down to lows of 8, while Paris is cloudy at 12. There's a chance of thunderstorms through Monday morning with highs of 22. 17 will be the high in a mostly cloudy London, currently at 11, and Monday night still in New York is clear at 8 degrees, coming into Sunday night rather. Coming into Monday we'll see highs of 19 and lows of 8.
Some very nice, mature music.
It really took me back to my days, and I can just feel get and enjoy the vibes.
Spice.
I'm a big listener of SpiceFM.
You play the best music.
This is 94.4 Spice FM.
Okay, so still a busy morning within the city. So we're looking at maybe a little bit better coming off. No, that's not true. Uhuru Highway is still crazy if you're trying to get into the city this morning, then getting towards. So it's bumper to bumper. Think about this. From the Nyeri Stadium roundabout on Mombasa Road, heading out towards Uhuru Highway, it's bumper to bumper in both directions, coming in and outbound. And so Jogo Road going towards Landis, folks are trying to come out into the city using Lusaka Road and then going back towards Landis, out towards Haile Selassie. And then think about traffic that's been diverted from Muranga Road is now coming through towards Ring Road and Ngara, and then out towards the Kamkunji Junction. So that's why you see that mess. Folks are trying to get away from what's going on at the Globe Cinema overpass. Okay, so we're going to keep an eye on this through the day because it still looks crazy. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Of PERAC. So let's start building a case towards the proposed solutions that you have. But let's now start with the impact that you're feeling, the heat that you're feeling right now with the ongoing crackdown. How many of your legitimate business members have been shut down, affected by the ongoing crackdown? What does that mean in terms of businesses, in terms of people employed and all?
I think it's affected us differently across the country. We have places like in where is this? In Northeastern, where the bars are still shut until today. Since that March, by the Interior Minister order, where he did the 25 points.
Yeah.
They said they are doing the vetting. 21 days, they'll give us an answer. I think until we caused a bit of noise last week, that's when we started getting answers. We had the first lot of answers on the vetting of the alcohol manufacturers. We are still waiting in some areas. What has happened is that the national government actually doesn't have the legal instruments to push a lot of the things that they are saying that are held in that 25 point. So there's a way
Who has the instruments?
The instruments through devolution are held by the governors, but the counties. But the government is kind of taking it back.
All right.
Yes. So we have some areas where even the county, the liquor boards are actually led by the national government. Like they are through the county commission. They closed because that's direct. They don't need the governor. They closed all the bars. They are still waiting until now. They've been closed now. I think it's going to be a month soon. So what happens?
So bars have been shut down for 4 weeks.
Yes, because they are still waiting
to be vetted.
Vetted, yes.
What does vetting entail?
Thank you. We are still trying to find that answer out. What has happened is some governors you find that the minister meets the governor, they have a press conference. In this county, we are shutting down for vetting. They have not given criteria of what the vetting is.
And were they vetted before opening, you wonder?
Yes. This is what I'm saying. We are soft underbelly. Yes. They have not said we are investigating where this liquor is coming. No. Everyone close. Let us find out who is right or wrong.
Okay, so I have to ask a question. And from where you perceive this, and I know that when this had all started, there was a perception that everybody had at some point. Are we really looking at an alcohol issue? Or are we looking at an alcohol issue? And understand what I'm saying now. That there seems to be an issue whereby there is the consumption of alcohol that has led people towards getting into a space in life where all hope is lost. There is also the side where alcohol is being sold that, yes, we've said is harmful to people, it's illicit. But from what you've told us, that's actually on the lower side of things. It's a lower percentage. Of course, we cannot discount that if somebody does get hurt from the consumption of an illicit brew, one person getting hurt is one person too many. That we understand. But I believe the Deputy President, in one of his submissions, said he goes into his constituency or his county, and at 8 a.m, he sees people who are already inebriated at that hour. Are we dealing with an alcohol consumption issue, or are we dealing with an underlying problem that leads people to consume alcohol that would then get them to a place of dependency? Those are many issues. From where you sit, what are we really dealing with that we must deal with in the right way?
I think that's the crux of the matter, whereby we should be open. If the government has a policy against alcohol, come out and say it so that we know how to deal with the issue then. If the government is talking about alcohol abuse and drug abuse and dependency, then let us find solutions. Because at the end of the day, that is actually a disease that is affecting people across the world, even a lot of people. And that's why I said in the beginning, I don't think there's anyone who does not know one person who is affected. It's a disease that is there. We have been a drinking nation since birth, I think. And this does not mean, because alcohol has been used by many people as a way to relax, as you're talking about, it's a social juice. It is juice. It's an oil that makes people do. A lot of people found their wives through alcohol. Let's be honest. And husbands. It lubricates our minds and everything and makes us live fuller lives, I believe.
So
we need to define the issue. But if you've noticed, the Deputy President, Rigi, has never actually stood up. And this is what people don't realize, because that's when they say mambo kwa ground is different. Stood up and said anything against legitimate alcohol. I think he's been very careful. There's a difference between what he says and actually what is actually than what people think he has said. If you read through all his things he's ever said, he has never been against. He's always used that word pombe haramu or illicit or whatever the case might be. But as collateral damage, we have been swept up. And the problem is that, you see, it's not only collateral, we've been swept up just by mistake, one or two. We are the first ones to be swept up with the wave. Okay. When we actually have nothing to do with the problem in the first place.
And you know, Michael, it's not the first time that you have been caught up in this mess.
Yes.
Not once, not twice. In fact, at some point, the association then, like you've told us, has even pushed to have some sort of self-regulation so that you play a better role and a bigger role in addressing these challenges that you continuously keep facing. That's why I went back to the question. If the legitimate businesses know the illegitimate ones, what have you done about it?
That's a very interesting question. As I said, we have no power to do anything.
Okay, you have power.
If we had the power.
As citizens, you have power. We have seen citizens rise up and do something. As an association, you have power. As an association, you can come out and flag them out and say, in this particular town, what's that town in Kirinyaga where people died the other day? The legitimate bars could have said, in our town, we have this number of bars that are selling illicit liquor. If you are telling us now as an association today, you came with data and told us, this is what it is, okay? In this country, those that have been licensed by the county governments across the country, we have X number of pubs.
Yes.
Those that are selling alcohol, and they do not have any form of licensure, which is most likely where people are consuming illicit liquor, we have X number. And this is their distribution. We'll be starting from somewhere. But you guys are flying blind, decidedly.
No, because I think you're asking us to become an investigation organization, because...
So today, let's say, this thing that you are pushing for, self-regulation, blah, 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 yada, 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 let's say you are given today.
Yes.
Paint for us a picture tomorrow. How different will the situation be?
It will be very different because, first of all, if we have got a say in the licensing, we are not going to license someone who is doing that nonsense.
But you've just told us those who are doing the nonsense are not licensed anyway.
But now, when you
unless you're telling us, Michael,
point will be
that the people who are licensed are also doing this thing, so-called nonsense.
No. This is how we are going to do, because at the end of the day, if we're involved in the licensing, number one, we'll know who is licensed and who is not definitively, because we're involved in the licensing structure. If we're in an area, let's say we were here on Mombasa Road from
Nyayo
Stadium
to City Cabanas.
Right. Because we are in the system, we know every single bar in the area.
Right.
We'll know everyone who's not licensed. We'll have within ourselves committees who are going around and checking.
Right.
And because we are in together with it, we will make sure we are all meeting basic minimum requirements.
Okay.
Yeah. When we don't have that power or even access to that information or anything, we leave it to others. And those others are the ones who are big. When I know if there is an issue with illicit on this road, we all going to have issues and all be shut. I am the first one making sure that guy is not selling.
Let me get you right, Michael. Are you saying that currently you don't have access to knowing who is licensed and who is not?
Leave alone that. The county itself doesn't know.
It doesn't know who it has licensed and who it has not.
They just did a survey the other day. They didn't know. When they were closing us down in the nightclub time, the county itself didn't know how many nightclubs there were. Yes.
Are you saying that because you do not sit in the licensing committees, you therefore cannot find out who is operating legitimate business in your neighborhood?
It is true, because there are also other people within that same people who don't know.
Are there people, to the best of your knowledge, who display fake licenses in their establishments?
There has been.
Leave
alone that there has been sale of fake licenses from the county.
So is that the practice? Is that the common practice?
It is not.
Is that what you're seeking to cure by asking to be involved in the licensing?
Not only just display, even meeting the requirements. Because, let us be honest, like anything in this country, a lot of things are for sale. So there are people who acquire things without meeting the requirements. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a bar that does not have a toilet.
But you can tell them. You can tell a bar that doesn't have a toilet.
Then that bar that bar is not licensed. It has
not
a license
because it has not met the requirements.
Yes, their license is fake.
So it has a questionable license.
Yes.
Even if it has a license, then the process of acquiring that license is questionable and should be questionable.
Yes.
And somebody who's in this business like yourself, who's running a clear business and a clean business, will be able to tell this from a mile away.
Yes.
And today you can do that.
Yes.
I want to come back to that issue. Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you coming to us, Michael, and saying, as a PERAC, we are running legitimate business. And we can tell you who is not running legitimate business. We can tell you where our people are most likely getting poisonous drinks.
Okay.
Can I jump on that? Because what it does essentially is that because there is the awareness that there are those who are doing these 1, 2, 3 things, everybody's lumped into the same basket. And so when we see you, Michael, we say, these are the guys who are selling illicit brew, and that's why you're shutting down our favorite local. This is the thing.
And you're only making noise because you're just making
because
noise.
All of you are just, all together.
Are you part of a solution or are you part of a problem?
For example, let's go to the Matatu business where they did the whole SACCO thing.
Yeah.
The SACCO has the right to take a Matatu off the route.
Yes.
They can clearly make decisions that make a difference to the routes.
Yes.
We can't. And just telling, the problem we have is you're telling me that I go and put together a dossier and give to the
public. Start with the public. You had a press conference last week, Michael.
Yes.
Where you're raising concern about the impact that this crackdown is having on your business.
Yes.
Right? For example, you've told us in Northeastern Province, all bars that have been operating legitimate business.
It was in a certain area, I can tell you.
In some parts,
yes.
These bars have been operating legitimate business, have been shut down. What does this mean? It means that these business owners are not running business. It means that people who are employed here are out of a job. You can give us the data coming out of this.
Yes.
Right? Some of them are not even your members.
Yes.
Those that have been shut down.
Yes.
But you can tell us about them.
Yes.
I don't see why you have to tell us, you have to be given a stamp as... For you to justify you being given a stamp, start somewhere. You had walked all the way. You even created a national draft policy.
Yes.
It's just about enactment of that policy.
Yes.
You've even come up with a proposal. If we were involved in self-regulation, so demonstrate self-regulation would... The only thing that we are missing is the whip to crack. But here is the issue. We have come to the public and said, we know who is selling illicit brew. And what we are asking for is the next thing, that we sit in the committee that can deregister this illicit.
Okay, let me ask a question, maybe with a softer touch though, Eric. So, Michael, would it be uncomfortable to call out folks who are selling alcohol that's, number one, illicit or are not meeting the requirements? Would it be uncomfortable for the legitimate folks to call out the illegitimate folks? Would it be uncomfortable for you?
It for sure, because one, they are already breaking the law to some point. You don't know the repercussions on yourself, which is the truth. When you hear even people shouting cartels, it's not that they don't exist. There is actual stuff like that. It is the truth. Whereby if you ask us to remove a list or whatever, what you're saying, and I know that the person I'm removing the list to give the authorities are already aware of what is happening.
Oh, he's one of the authorities.
Or whatever is happening, you know they're already aware. What are you asking me to do? You're asking me to put myself in an untenable situation.
So it's difficult.
Where now I become the person who's being harassed even more.
But then can you see where that question comes in, Michael? Because now here you are asking to be part... You want to self-regulate.
Yes.
You want to be involved in checks and balances and be able to crack the whip. But then it is very difficult for you to say, hey, look, that guy over there, that's one of our problems. And you don't even have the whip. Now you can imagine if folks are thinking, they don't have the whip and they know people who are misoperating. How much more would they be able to do that? Should we now give them the whip?
For example, I think it would be much easier if you would ask me to put up an anonymous hotline tip and say stack him to. And then also you still have the issue there of businesses trying to finish each other. But at the bottom you will have genuine people who are trying to stop this illicit alcohol from being sold.
Okay.
That would be a much better, softer. That's why there is even when you're doing your vote, you're doing it
in secret.
In secret.
So self-regulation will not work.
It will work if you have the power. This country is based on power. If you have no power, keep quiet, because when you start shouting, you're the one who ends up being done in. Let's just, there's a difference between idealism and the truth on the ground.
The truth on the ground, let's say self-regulation comes in and you're sitting, for example, in the liquor licensing committees.
Yes.
You'd still be a minority.
You see, if it would be...
In terms of membership, in terms of interest representation. Or let's even say that you're half. Okay? But if indeed currently the liquor licensing committees, some of them are giving licenses to unscrupulous businesses to operate, businesses that have not met the basic standards, and you are sitting in that committee, those are cartels that you're talking about.
Yes, but they have no skin in the game. I have skin in the game.
But will you have a voice when you're in that committee? And that those committees have been running the committees for a long time.
It is the same thing that even with this issue, those committees, those committees at the county level, this is the first time since I think last year but one, we've actually heard of money going to rehab. All the money that's been collected is supposed to be for rehab and such things.
Yeah.
The first rehab to be not even built, to be taken over another county hospital to put money on it was last year. So we've had over 10 years, all the billions of shillings that have been collected have disappeared into thin air. So
who is thin air? Okay.
Thin air is governor's pockets. Clearly.
Yeah.
There are people even that don't deal because there are courts cases in different counties and courts where that money. We have places where all that money is just disappeared. That's why there is no money for rehab. That's why there's no money for mitigation, for illicit. We actually pay money every year to mitigate these things. But where has that money gone? We don't know. We have no oversight or stakeholder representation on any of those places. Becomes a problem. I can tell you for now, the only place in this country that I have a seat on county liquor committee is Mombasa. Yeah. All this, they work, a lot of counties work very hard to not have us on those committees, because they know when we get on those committees, we start making positive changes.
Do you think the present activation of because like you said, there are a number that have been shut down over the last few weeks, do you think that this present action is sustainable towards this end, whatever the end, because the end seems to have so many heads right now, but do you think that it is sustainable, that as an action towards whatever it is that is trying to be achieved?
The problem, we don't actually know what is trying to be achieved.
That's why I said it has so many heads.
If that's what and that's what I'm calling for, if we had like a national caucus with all the stakeholders involved and actually came up with a point plan to actually solve the problem which we want to solve, which still at the moment we don't actually know. If it is alcohol abuse, fine. Let's come together and see. If it is illicit, fine. Let's see what we can do about it and what we can, the measures we can take to do. For example, the 25-point plan has got things that will work against stopping illicit. For sure, 100%. It's just opening lines for people to collect money. For example, saying that alcohol can only be moved between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. The bar is opening at 5. So I have 300 bars on my route. I'm supposed to deliver in an hour. It's impossible. And then be off the road in that hour back to the distribution point. It's impossible. I'm moving alcohol from Ruaraka to Kisumu. It's full of Tusker or whatever.
You have to move during the day.
You have to move during the day.
So you can tell that even these 25, there are things that have not been thought out at all. It is from a structure of someone who is in an regulatory. It is not actually something that is...
It's not vertical ground.
Yes, it's not workable.
As people who are on the ground, what's the problem from your perspective? Is there a problem?
The problem, I think, is they don't know what they want. If we were actually to know this is our end goal, then bring everyone on the table who can make sure you reach your end goal.
Okay.
Because
what do
illicit,
you think,
we are all against.
Nationally, what do you think is a problem? Is a problem illicit alcohol, or is a problem drinking?
You see, from my point, I can never say the problem is drinking.
So
I think the problem is abuse of that drink. There is abuse.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's one part of it which is abuse.
Yes.
Is there another part which is illicit?
Illicit for us as businesses is a huge issue for us.
How would you propose that you deal with illicit?
That would call for what I'm calling that stakeholder forum, to bring, actually some of the things they're trying to do I don't disagree with. Putting all these manufacturers in line of actually at least minimum standard, it makes a lot of sense. We had a lot of dodgy stuff going on there for years where people are just making money hand over fist, not really caring or what is being made or what is happening. Even the feedback we got on Friday, it was interesting to see only 5 manufacturers in the whole country have passed the test. And that was also an issue where in the beginning when he said stop and KEBS removed things, now we have things which we thought were legal on our shelves in wines and spirits in bars across the country, which now you're being told is illegal, but you paid for it. No one is returning
you already
money.
Have it as stock.
No one is doing anything. But if the enforcers come round, pombe haramu. You bought, you have the receipts, everything.
You have everything.
Those things have even stickers from KEBS and not fake ones. They became illicit with a signature rather than actual anything. So I have stock for 100k, 200k sitting. What do I do?
Big issues. Michael, thank you very much for coming.
Yes.
And yeah, let's keep pushing and having these conversations. So we had addressed an issue after we've all identified and agreed that this is the issue. Michael Kirago Mudami is the national chairman of the Pubs, Entertainment and Restaurants Association of Kenya, PERAC. We've been talking about the crackdown on illicit alcohol and alcoholism in the country. 10 a.m. Thank you for tuning in. Have a lovely day. We'll see you tomorrow.